is the greatest moment in my life.
Hey, yo!
Hello.
Hello,
How are you?
Magsy.
How are
All
you
right, mate.
today?
All right, mate. All right. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. You?
Yeah, not too bad. Rough with a cold. So, at first, apologies if you get a lot of coughing and spluttering on this episode. It's a little bit tough. I have got a cold.
You don't sound great, mate, to be fair. You do sound a bit on the croaky
But this
side.
is what I do for the CWF, though. I come through. Yeah, I may have had like a month off because I went mental, but ignore that. When it comes to physical problems, I'm here. I make the effort.
Oh, mate. It's good. It's good. It's commitment to the cause, isn't it? Eh? That's why
It
you
is,
are
yeah.
the podfather. That's why you are the podfather.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. No, very much so, mate. Very much so. Yeah, you sound a bit croaky, bud. So, you know, just go
I was
careful.
thinking husky, like sexy.
So, well, I think you always sound sexy. To me, that's the main drawing point of the show. It's how sexy you are. You're the eye candy.
It's facts.
You're the eye candy, mate. That's what it is.
Jesus, wet. That is a sad state of affairs if I'm the eye candy of a podcast.
On that lovely note, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, a SJP World Media production, episode 92. Why? I am Si, and with me, as always, is the Kip Sheffield. To my right back, both pretty shit. Let's be honest. The Super Cena. To my need to be cleaner. Apparently, I smell a bit. I think I smell terrific, you know? 12-year-old girl's deodorant, because I ran out. Works every time, mate. Super powerful stuff. A podcaster who, when it comes to grappling with 7 other men, would never want his happy ending changed. The podfather himself, Lord Mags. Well, I don't need to ask how you are. You told me. Croaky voice.
Yep, croaky voice. I'm ready for that bukkake or whatever it's called.
Dear me. Don't look that up, younger viewers. Just oh man. It's taken less than 3 minutes and I'm already going, oh no.
No, I'm doing good. Aside from the cold, yeah, it's been quite a quiet week. Obviously, we had the funeral of Her Majesty today, so it's been quite a somber affair. But kind of like last week, we are here to put a little bit of brightness in people's days. So hopefully, we can do that over the next couple of hours and give you something to smile or laugh or roll your eyes at.
Yeah, this is it, mate. This is it. Hopefully, again, a bit of a distraction. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a massive occasion, of course it is, but it is to me feeling like now you do need a bit of an escape because it did dominate so many TV stations all day long. And don't get me wrong, it was spectacular. I mean, I caught some of it. Sharon watched pretty much all of it at home. I was sort of in and out the room. I watched some of it, and it was a spectacular sight seeing those buildings and all the uniforms and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it just gets to a point where okay, I've seen enough of this now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she was only on the throne for 70 years, Sar, so giving her a full day on TV, that's selfish, isn't it?
No, I'm not saying no. Hang on. I'm not saying I begrudge a whole day on the television. I'm saying that obviously the fantastic, freedom we have in our nation means I don't have to watch if I don't want to. And I watched quite a bit of it, and then I went away and did some other stuff. Then I watched a bit more. I went away and did some more stuff, and
keep digging yourself into that hole. You'll probably be deep enough to join her very soon.
Oh my God! Shall we see who's joining us, Magsy? On the
yes.
Should we move on from this before I get cancelled by all the royalists?
So as always, we start this show with your good lady saying it's Monday. You know what that means. And Dan, it means shenanigans, bullshit, dirty jokes, and maybe some wrestling. Actually, quite a lot of wrestling this week. It's actually quite impressive. Cam in the chat, hello, good sir. Scottish Danny. I don't know if you're in the Cardiff group, but Danny posted a video of a Scottish guy pushing a pram down the street, and the pram was on fire. So typical Scotland. I thought that was the streets of Camden, but no, apparently it was Scotland.
Actually, to be honest, I looked at the buildings and thought it was Gloucester for a moment. I genuinely did.
Is that my front street?
That's my estate. I know him.
That's my pram.
That's my fire, the bastard.
Sharon saying I'm a trooper. She missed out the word absolute, but I'll forgive her for that. Thank you, Sharon. Scotty Danny saying evening all, and Anya. Oh my God, the intros get better and better. I apologize for the intros. I'm poorly. Stuff is going to come out of my mouth that I am not. This isn't engaged in, so I apologize now for the things that I'm going to say.
What about every other week for the last 91 weeks then? What's
No. I accept them as they are this week. It may go more off the rails though.
Oh, good God. Okay.
Scottish Danny says this is why we tune into the live YouTube, and this is why it'll only be us that tune in, because any new people coming in just watch 5 minutes and they go, nope, that's not for me.
This is supposed to be a wrestling show.
Yeah,
and
that's
and
it. That's
Max.
enough YouTube for a day. Connor from Connor Soccer in the chat. Hello, sir. How are you? LSP. I'm assuming that's Liv's new YouTube channel.
I believe so.
Hi, Rona-Roo. I'm assuming that's a nickname. Oh, that's cute.
She's full of the Rona, mate, isn't she?
Ah, she is again.
Our Liv's the 3rd time has caught the Rona and brought it into our house. What is she doing? She must be waiting outside test centres and just licking people or something.
Yeah, just breathing it in there.
Yeah, stop it.
Do you want to cough into my mouth? Benjamin Dover, brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I love wrestling. Woohoo! Yep. Welcome to the show, Benjamin. Dan Griffin saying fire prams are what Danny would be doing if he hadn't taken up knife play. Absolutely. And Scottish Danny agrees because he is the Camden town stabber, obviously.
Yes.
And we'll end on a pleasant one from all them horrible people in the Cedar Breath. Hello, Charlie. How are you?
Hello, Charlie. Hello. Yes, there we go then. So we have a lot on this show. Obviously, we have our Hall of Lane we're going to get to shortly. A huge non-wrestling topic as Magsy coughs his guts up for the first time of the show. You know, lasted 8 minutes.
First of many.
The first of many, yeah, the first of many. A huge non-wrestling topic this week with loads of responses from all you wonderful people once again. And a wrestling match that, well, let's put it this way. I don't mind John Cena, but if you don't like John Cena, stick around. I'm probably going to say a few things you're going to enjoy. Magsy, shall we chuck some stuff into the Hall of Lame?
Well, let me cue up the video and then we shall.
The Hall of
What do you got for us, mate?
So I actually spoke to you midweek about my Hall of Lane, saying that this was a belter, and the sickness gods have bestowed upon me an illness that they said, right, you want to be clever, you want to write out a 1,300-page script, enjoy doing that without coughing your guts up through it. Yeah, so for the next few halls of lame I've been on a bit of a YouTube kind of rabbit hole that takes you to ridiculous parts of wrestling, and this was one that stood out for me from watching it and thinking, oh, I remember that. God, that was terrible. And it's also in your wheelhouse of early 90s WCW, so I thought this deserves to go in. So let's start. So back in 1993, WCW, so like early parts of the 90s, they had started to use TV and Hollywood writers to plan out vignettes and segments, trying to appeal to wider fan bases. So if you remember stuff like Vader's White Castle of Fear, that might come up in another Hall of Lame very soon because that was horrific, or like the Beach Blast 93 movie. The mini movie, they had those kind of like vignettes. So at this time, we had Vader as champion, and he was the kind of classic monster heel champion, destroying everyone in his path, a genuine, uncontrollable mastodon. And then on the other side of the coin, you had Cactus Jack. He was coming off a feud with Paul Orndorff. He ended up being attacked by Vader, and that kind of started the ball rolling on Cactus turning face. He even got the pin. Cactus even got the pin in the Thunder Cage match at Clash of the Champions 22, where he and his teammates, I think, was Sting and Dustin Rhodes. They beat Vader, Orndorff, and Barry Windham, who was that's the Barry Windham mention that I promised you.
I can allow that one, mate. That one's all right.
Yeah, because he's not the focal point of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So this was all put in place so that Cactus could get a title shot against Vader. But before that, he faced off with Orndorff again in a Falls Count Anywhere match to really cement the fact that he was a face now, that he was taking this damage to entertain the fans. So leading into is the start of his push towards a title shot. Mick actually approached head writer at the time, head booker, Dusty Rhodes, and he laid out this plan of matches where it culminated in Vader seriously injuring Cactus Jack to essentially give him some time off. So Dusty's eyes lit up and he started going through kind of scenarios in his head, and he's like, that's it, baby. And then when Vader hurts you, you'll get amnesia and you'll go home and you won't even remember your family. So Mick's like, oh, amnesia. That's a hard sell. He's like, oh. And just as he's about to kind of say, I don't like it, Dusty says, you'll be off the road for 4 months on full pay. So Mick's like, yes, sir. I'm happy with that. Yep, what a great story here in Cleveland. So Mick thought the story's got off on a tangent. Maybe that'll get reined in whilst it's being booked. But the matches should be good because Mick and Vader usually have pretty good matches. So we get to the match where Cactus is to get amnesia, and how they did it was Foley took the power bomb on the exposed concrete, and that took him out. So he gets 4 months off now, whilst the story's built up for him to make his gallant return. A week or so into his break, he gets a phone call from Tony Schiavone. And Tony was not just a commentator, but he was part of the backstage team. He tells Mick that he has to come back and record the vignettes for his return, and that there's been some idea changes. There we go. So the bookers had said they want to insert a little bit of comedy into the storyline. Mick says, no, I don't agree with that whatsoever. This is serious. There's nothing funny about head injuries. There's nothing funny about amnesia. So Tony argued that the 12 weeks of vignettes planned, if they were all serious vignettes, fans would get bored before the return of Mick. And that the decision was final, that he had to come and film these vignettes, and he would be receiving the script in the next couple of days. He received this script, and he receives copies of the vignettes they've recorded without him, and instantly he detests it. He said the first couple of vignettes were so bad, he believed that they would be cancelled before this 12-week run. And he was absolutely right, because they would be cancelled. So we then fast forward to the 5th of June, 1993. WCW Saturday Night, and Tony Schiavone says to the audience that Cactus has been sent to a mental institution for further observation because his physical injuries have got better, but it's affected him mentally. So we cut to Catherine White, who is an overacting, roving reporter. And she has been sent to check on the condition of Cactus Jack. So she tells the viewers that Cactus has escaped the hospital. His mental state has deteriorated badly. And then a guy sat behind her on a bench who's eating Watsits with a toothpick. He overhears Catherine and says that Jack's in Cleveland. And then he also says that Jack is in Atlantis and that he's a fish. And then he starts acting like Rain Man. So I don't know how much stock you could put into this guy. But then Catherine spots someone in the corner of her eye who she thinks is Jack. And she wanders over to him. And it turns out to be a bloke doing a very poor Jack Nicholson impression.
Right.
So here end of segment vignette 1. So we're already off to a great start.
Okay.
The next vignette has Catherine, the roving reporter. She's at the home of Cactus Jack talking to Mrs. Jack.
Mrs. Jack.
Mrs.
Mrs. Cactus.
But this isn't actually Mick's real wife, because Dusty Rhodes, and this is hilarious, said that Mick's wife was way too pretty and they needed someone uglier and frumpier. So they got an actress in, and Mick's wife tells Catherine that Jack was here, but he was acting like he didn't know who they were, and then he's left. So next up, we're in Cleveland. She's following up on the rumor that he's in Cleveland, and said that WCW has received reports of him being all over the states, but the majority of them centered around this particular street in Cleveland where Jack has been spotted hanging around a bunch of homeless people. So she walks down this dark alley, and she's asking the various hobos if they've seen Jack, and then we see one tramp called Swampy. He's drinking whiskey out of a brown paper bag, and he tells Catherine that he knows Cactus, and that for $50 he will call her when he sees Cactus again. And just as we're getting to the end of this vignette, Catherine's handbag is stolen by one of these rogue homeless people, and as she's setting off to run off, the bag is thrown back to her by somebody in the darkness. So she's had a bag saved by a mystery hobo.
Was it What's It Man? No.
he was too busy counting cards in Vegas.
Right. Okay.
So we get to the next vignette, and we see Swampy and Catherine again. And we see Swampy here tapping Catherine up for more money. And she says, I'm not going to give you any more money until I see Jack. So Swampy says, you've actually already seen Jack, because it was him who threw the handbag back to you. So she ventures further into this alley, and you see Cactus Jack sat down with a group of these bums around him, and he's telling them tales of his life at sea, like Sailor Jack. So when Catherine approaches him, he's adamant that he is not the person she's looking for. He's just a simple sailor with no name. And this nameless sailor is also flanked by his girlfriend, who's called Bang Bang. Yep, with Bang Bang.
Okay.
She tells Catherine to back off as Jack enters his makeshift tent/hovel, what he lives in. So another week, another vignette, and Catherine is back in Cleveland, and she's taken the advice of Jack's doctor, and Jack's doctor has said, bring somebody along who could jog Jack's memory, like somebody from his past. So
I hope it's Vader.
Now you would think. Weirdly, she brings Dustin Rhodes.
Oh, well, yeah.
Because of that long, well-known history between Jack and Dustin. They find Jack again talking to these hobos about his life at sea, and Jack mistakes Dustin for a country singer. On the account that he was dressed like a fucking country singer. He had a ridiculous shirt on, a cowboy hat, cowboy boots, they all get up. But Jack says he was a singer who they had on the ship that he sailed on, and he went down well with the crew. Dustin says, no, Jack, we've teamed up before. And Jack point blank don't remember at all. But Bang Bang the girlfriend comes out, and Catherine accuses her, says, "You're hiding something. There's something suspicious going on." Dustin does the whole bang bang finger guns, and Jack does it back as if like there's a spark of the old Cactus there.
Muscle memory or something, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But Bang Bang, the girlfriend, not the Bang Bang, calls in all the troops, and Dustin thinks he's going to get the laugh kicked in. Instead, they just steal his hat. That's the end of that vignette. Now, give me 1 second. I just need to cough.
You good?
Look at that. What a professional I am.
Oh, that was great.
So then we get to vignette number 6 of the 12. And Catherine is in Cleveland yet again, but this time she's brought Jack's wife and child, Dewey. And we see Swampy again, but this time he's not a hobo dressed in smelly clothes. He's actually got a shirt and tie. He looks pretty professional. And Swampy says to Catherine that he's taken Jack's advice of cleaning his act up and getting himself a job. But then he says Jack is not in Cleveland anymore. Jack and Bang Bang have moved on because of Catherine snooping. So just as the Catherine and Dewey and Mrs. Foley are about to leave, Swampy has a change of heart and he says, I can't lie to you. He is here. And he takes the group to Jack and Bang Bang.
Mags, just coughing his guts up again there. Oh, poorly Mags. He is a trooper, and he Charles right in the chat. Look at this.
Luckily, we're only on just vignette 6 of 12 so far.
Oh my god! Shall I go make a cup of tea or something?
So Swampy takes the group to Jack because he believes that Bang Bang is a bad influence on Jack and wants to control him. And when the group find Jack and Bang Bang, Cactus does not recognize his wife and son whatsoever. They both beg him to come home, and he says he is home. And then the vignette ends with Jack and Bang Bang walking one way and his wife and kid walking the other. Then the next vignette doesn't happen. There is no more vignettes. The story just ends there. And it's because Dusty was told by Jim Herd that these vignettes were to stop immediately. Mick Foley believed that Eric Bischoff had a hand to play in it, but the truth is that Jim Herd was not happy with the vignettes, and they had to stop. And also, they were typical of Dusty's recklessness with company money, because they cost around $100,000 per vignette to produce.
Whoa!
But it's not the end of the tale. Cactus Jack did return to face Vader. He attacked him at Clash of Champions 24, but they never mentioned this amnesia angle ever again. And to rub salt into Jack's wounds, he would end up facing fellow alumni in the Hall of Fame, Yoshi Kwan, before he was able to get his title match against Vader. A title match that he then went on and lost, and then really got injured because Vader did a backdrop and put all his weight on him. So, a very sad end to what could have been a great story, but just was fizzled out and cut off halfway through. So, this week's entrance from me to the Hall of Fame is Lost in Cleveland with Cactus Jack.
That's terrible, isn't it? You say $100,000 roughly per vignette, and they filmed 6 of them.
They filmed 6. They spent over $500,000.
So they spent over $500,000 on this, and then even after that, decided, we're just going to stop it. Were they hoping that the audience had amnesia and we were just going to forget about the storyline altogether?
That's the wrestling way, though. That's what happens in wrestling. Storylines are dropped all the time, and you're just meant to carry on, I suppose. But what interests me is if this was only the 6th vignette and we got to that kind of end of the story with Cactus and his wife, what were they going to fill the next 6 vignettes with?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Oh,
But
man.
yeah. Lost
That
in
is
Cleveland.
crap,
Look it
right?
up. Look it up.
I've seen most of it. Yeah, I mean, WCW 93, as you said, was a really weird place. When you started talking about WCW 93 and vignettes and film directors and so on, I assumed you were going to Beach Blast 93 and Sid in his flip flops and all that sort of nonsense and all that stupidness
may
with
come.
Bulldog.
That may come.
Because that's bad. But what you've given us there, Max, I think is actually even worse because they just kept going back to the well until one day just went, sod that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And some of the comments, Dan Griffin, there's nothing funny about head injuries. Come on, Mick, one little penis joke, please. Can my missus be in the vignettes just there? You are fucking joking, Mick. You are punching far too hard.
Oh, dear. I mean, I'm not going to be able to top that, but I am going WCW. And I had 3 or 4, well, 3 options, 3 main options going into this week that I did a little bit of research, well, quite a lot of research by my standards on. And I was like, okay, this is good. This is good. The last one, I was a bit like, okay, maybe I'm scraping a barrel a bit with that. But the other 2, I was quite happy with. But I kept coming back to something else because we're covering it at the moment on Nitro Nights. And if I don't say it now, I feel we may not get the outrage and hatred and just sheer fire from Scottish Danny, my co-host on Nitro Nights, because this really fires him up. And I love how passionate and angry he gets. Everyone can recall from previous Hall of Names and from Nitro Nights, if you listen, the stable, the Dungeon of Doom. Everyone can recall the numerous ridiculous members they've had. One of them was friend of the show, Ed Leslie, the Brutus the Barber Beefcake, as the Zodiac, who is already in the Hall of Lane. Now, obviously, the Zodiac isn't going to go in again because he's already in there. We've already chucked him in there, and rightfully so, because it was bloody awful. However, Scottish Danny in the chat there, look, I knew this was coming. Yeah, I'm doing it for you, Danny, because I know how much you hate it. There was an occasion that we've not long recorded for. I'm not sure if it's come out yet, but we've not long recorded for with regards to Nitro Nights, where Hogan and Savage are battling the Dungeon of Doom and the Horsemen, and we're building up to Uncensored with that ridiculous cage match where it seems like it's the whole roster versus Hogan and Savage at Uncensored 96. So this is 96 WCW, when things apparently started to get good, but this is not good. Completely at random, whilst Hogan and Savage are getting beaten down by this huge number of bad guys, including randomly Giant Haystacks for a couple of weeks. He turned up there, and of course, other like Zeus from SummerSlam 89, he makes an appearance. All these guys just coming out of the woodwork to beat up Hogan. Somebody runs down to the ring wearing what can only be described as bootleg, crappy, homemade Brutus but the Barber Beefcake ring gear, crossed with maybe shitty amateur acting Ultimate Warrior mannerisms. He's got the tassels on his arm. He's got the long hair. He's got cut-out bits on his tights and so on. And he's running about and bouncing the ropes and waving his arms. When it slows down a little bit and you see what's going on as this guy makes the save and helps Savage and Hogan on this episode of Nitro, you think, hang on, that's the bloody Zodiac, who's a member of the Dungeon of Doom. What's going on? We get no explanation that night at all. Hogan names him, but we get no explanation as to what's going on. We just get ranting and shouting about a 6-man tag next week. Mean Gene has to go out of his way to prompt Hogan to say, look, you're supposed to be saying this. Say it now. We're running out of airtime. Eventually, Hogan does get in that he wants a tag match the following week and so on. So we then, the following Nitro, have Hogan and Savage and their new partner, the Booty Man, facing off against 3 members of the Dungeon of Doom and, the Horsemen sort of collected group. Now, the Booty Man is bad enough. It's Ed Leslie, so straight away it's shit. But it's Ed Leslie playing a character that is obsessed with his own butt cheeks. He slaps his own butt cheeks. He constantly points at his arse, and it's almost like he's waiting for the crowd reaction when he slaps his arse and points at his opponent, but it never comes. So he just looks stupid. Now that is bad enough. What I would like to do is put another spin on it and have a little look at what we're told is the reason for the Booty Man's appearance. And that is, Hogan says the Zodiac was never really a member of the Dungeon of Doom. The Zodiac was a spy sent in by Hogan and Savage. Now, put that into context, okay? For the last, 6 to 8 months, maybe even as long as a year, I'm not sure, the Dungeon of Doom have been beating the piss out of Hogan and Savage, including the Zodiac, welling in with chairs and all sorts. If he was supposed to be a spy to tell Hogan the inner workings of the Dungeon of Doom, how come Hogan carried on getting jumped all the time? There's obviously no information getting passed back from this kayfabe fabricated spy. It's just the most ridiculous, over-the-top, contrived attempt at turning somebody babyface when you've got no reason to do it. Ever. Now, the Zodiac was never over. It was awful. It was crap. And that's what's in the Hall of Fame already. But at least the longer he was there, the longer his presence maybe started to make sense. The Booty Man makes no sense whatsoever. The wrestler is crap. The gimmick is crap. The name is crap. And the reasoning behind it is even worse. So that's my entrant into the Hall of Fame this week. The Booty Man and his spy mission.
Has Ed Leslie ever had a good gimmick?
To be fair, in his defense, that his finish is a running knee strike that he calls the high knee, as in high knee. That I get a kick out of. I enjoy that part, but everything else he's ever done, shite.
Yeah, and you can tell this was all because Ed was, Hogan, I don't want to be against you all the time. Me and you are like brothers. I want to be your friend.
We're best friends. Yeah. We're best mates.
Yeah,
it's so bad.
It was awful. It was awful.
Thank God, in a couple of months' time, I think Danny knows exactly the number of weeks. He can't.
He's counted them. He's got it on his calendar on the wall.
Thank God, on Nitro Nights, Scott Hall. Scott Hall arrives soon. Shall we jump into the chat magazine, see if we got anything there before we get on with this week's non-wrestling topic, my friend?
Yes, we shall. Let me zoom back up. Dan Griffin saying it was Ed Leslie playing the barbed wire that Cactus Jack chewed on as a boy. And then he said, hang on, what's one played by Ed Leslie? It would not surprise me. I don't think it actually was, but it would not surprise me if he wasn't part of it. He was probably one of the hobos. That was probably Ed Leslie's house that Cactus Jack was using as a homeless den. Cam Griffin, the booty man.
Oh, his entrance theme as well. Not that is his entrance theme there, but his entrance theme is shot. Everything about it is just crap, and I'm getting angry thinking about it.
This is what happens when you let wrestlers run wild with their own ideas. He clearly thought that this was cool and this was going to get him over and it was going to be popular, and it went down like an actual fart in church.
Yes.
Dan Griffin saying the booty man was total arse, and Cam saying that was shit. The joke, clearly. And Dan saying Booty Man Rourke so Taguchi could run with the arse-based gimmick. There's no way, there's no comparison. Taguchi is way better using his arse than Booty Man ever would. Ed Leslie, the worst spy ever.
Yeah, it's awful.
Cam Griffin saying, to be fair, the Zodiac did hold the giant off for weeks from going in to get Hogan. Why am I trying to justify the Booty Man? No, you've drawn your battle lines now, Cam. You are now a Booty Man fan, and sorry, you're not allowed to watch this show anymore. Unfortunately, you'll have to listen to the audio version.
Don't say that like it's a bad thing.
Which you can find on all podcasting platforms. So there you go.
Yeah.
Dan saying to Cam, you've had a big day. You need a kip, lad. Saying Cam reply saying, I know, horrendous, trying to justify him. Well, you read what you saw, Cam, so you're now in the bad books with us here at the CWF.
You're on the naughty list, mate. You're on the naughty list. Magsy, Shall we talk a little bit non-wrestling topic then? I think we've done 35 minutes and we spoke quite a bit of wrestling already. That's not like us.
I know. Wow. Let's have a rest.
NWT time. Oh! No wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely.
Nice. Lovely. Nice.
Oh, lovely.
Lovely.
That is proper Gloucester, isn't it? That is proper Gloucester.
That belch at the end's Charlie, by the way. It's not. She'll go mad if she hears me say that. Oh, dear. This week's non-wrestling topic, then, is one that we've kind of had in the background for a little while, Magsy, haven't we? But other options always popped up and sort of took over. But yeah, this week we sort of went with it, and it's childhood ambitions. We've had crazy dreams or legit jobs that you wanted to do and ended up doing or not doing, or for whatever reason. Just childhood ambitions and all that sort of stuff. And we've had quite a mixed bag from the CWF and a huge amount of responses, Mags, haven't we?
We have, yeah. Yet again, the CWF knock it out of the park with the replies. You guys are absolutely amazing.
100%. 100%. I will, much to Magsy's joy, run through them in the order they came into us. So that to you, I suppose, is just
bastard.
The first response we received was from our good friend Connor in the chat at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. He says, as a kid, I always wanted to be a sports broadcaster, calling games in the booth like the guys on TV. Growing up on the voices of my childhood, like Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth on NBC Sunday night in American football, Brett Musburger and Kirk Herbstreit. Some of these names can't be real. Really? Is Herbstreit and Musburger real? They must be. Okay.
Yeah, they must burger be.
They must burger be. Yeah.
The only one that's normal there is Al Michaels.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some funny names there, isn't there? Anyway, with Saturday Night Football, and when the full day of college football always ended up in a highly anticipated top 25 matchup, Brett would always say, "You are looking live at a sold-out Enter Stadium name, city, and state here." My other idols were Gus Johnston and Joel Klatt, who called noon kickoff games on Fox.
On Fox. That's a totally different kind of football.
That's a whole different channel. You got to pay for that one. Gus Johnson is known for his high energy and excitement when big plays took place. I still have this dream today, and I have had the great opportunity to call high school basketball games last winter, with comparisons between me and the legend Gus J. Fair play. That's good. If it's something you dreamt of as a kid and you get an opportunity, that's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know any of them people, but I don't watch a lot of American sports. But the fact that he's able to go and call some high school basketball games and really get into like making that first step into being a sports commentator, good on you, Connor. Well done. Absolutely nothing wrong with chasing your dreams, sir. Go for it.
Definitely not. Well done. I imagine there's some of those guys we may recognize their voices potentially, just because if they've been doing it for a long time, maybe. If
I have heard of someone called Kirk Herbstreit, I would have remembered.
Okay. Dan Griffin at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter. He says, as a kid, I had the typical thing of being a footballer or pro sportsman. Had a brief time wanting to be a Power Ranger. Fair enough. The pink one. Why is that tickled you so much?
No, it's just the typical one of being a footballer. Yeah, I get that. Sportsman, absolutely. And then I wanted to be a Power Ranger. Brilliant. It's just amazing.
Oh, man. As I got older, I realized I was good at languages, so maybe an interpreter. Then I found I liked writing, so studied journalism. Turns out journalism is an industry I wasn't cut out for, so floated around working retail for too long before landing various roles in travel. I still don't have a career / calling, so my only goal in life is to work to live and enjoy my life outside of the workplace to the fullest. That's fair enough, mate.
That's a great goal. Absolutely great goal.
Don't give up on that Power Ranger dream, though.
You could be the Brown Ranger if you
white
really wanted to. I don't know, because it's the worst color.
The beige ranger.
Yeah,
The grey ranger.
the Grey Ranger. That's perfect for Dan. The
Yeah,
Grey
there we go.
Ranger.
At Scottish Juggalo on Twitter, Scottish Danny, our good friend there, he says, as a kid, I really wanted to work with animals. So fresh out of school, I began working at a local farm and really loved it. Best
that's
part
cool.
was walking the ferrets with a lead. And he's got a few pictures he's shown us there of Danny looking after the rabbits and the guinea pigs and so on. Yeah, that's awesome. Walking
From
the ferrets with a
15
lead.
years
Brilliant.
ago.
15, eh? Bloody hell. Walking the ferrets, man. I know people have got ferrets and that, but it's never a pet that sort of appealed to me. Aren't they a bit nippy?
Yeah, when I was really small, my family had ferrets, and they once escaped from the cage and went on a killing rampage around the neighborhood, killing people's pet rabbits and things like that. So yeah, they're not the best of pets to have, but they do look cool on a little harness and lead.
Well, that's why that ferret was so dangerous. That you didn't have Danny on a lead on the other end of it.
Exactly. I wish I'd have known that. Then I could have roped Danny in to come away from like stabbing and murdering people in Camden Town to ferret babysit.
Stabbing and murdering people, for goodness sake. Our good friend Tolly at Rain Counter on Twitter. Always, I say it every week now because it seems he is getting more and more involved every week. I love the fact that he is tweeting into the show and is back on Twitter, I guess. Tolly says, I wanted to be a game show host. Okay. I'd invent loads of game shows and make my family take part. I bet they fucking hate
make them go. That was the defining word. You made them take part. Yeah. They did not want. That was definitely done against their will.
Yeah, he's took the batteries out of the remote, turned the telly off. They got no choice. Lots of bits of card and paper with this shitty, and they're there in a tie, like
with a suit and tie on.
Yeah. Tolly says it's frustrating because I can't come up with any creative ideas these days.
That's also very true.
Is it?
Yeah, he's not good with ideas or booking or research, anything like that.
Oh, okay.
He's like you. He's like a beardless star.
What do you mean he's like me? I come up with loads of ideas, mate. I mean, most of them are shite, but I come up with loads of them. Tolly continues. Then, as a young teenager, I wanted to be in a band, write a song to perform at WrestleMania, and meet Stephanie McMahon. That's a very specific career path he's got laid out in his mind there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, most people who want to be in bands, their aim is to get a number one or go on tour and do stadiums. Paul specifically wanted to. The heart of his career would be performing at rest. The heart of his career was being Saliva or being Limp Bizkit or Machine Gun Kelly or Pitbull. Florida. He wanted to be Florida and perform at a WrestleMania.
He effectively wants to be the piss break at WrestleMania. Is what he's saying.
What a dream.
Oh, here comes that Welsh fellow with his guitar. I'm going to go get a drink. That's the way it would go. I then followed the natural progression to wanting to be an accountant. Yeah, that makes sense. I have no idea why and wish I could have had a word with my late teen self. Okay, fair enough. I know our Libs wants to be an accountant. That's one of the things that's in her mind she wants to do when she's older. So
look at what she could be.
No,
this is your future, Liv. If you become an accountant, this.
Oh, Tolly, we love you, mate. Ben at Witticisms of Ben on Twitter. Hello, sir.
Hello.
He says he wanted to be a chef. Yes, he says he wanted to be a chef. And then he realized how antisocial the hours were. And at 15, that was a big old thing. But he taught himself to cook anyway. Yeah, that's good. I mean, just being a chef, if that's of an interest, it's good that you carried on and went into cooking at some level, I guess, isn't it?
Well, otherwise he probably would die of starvation.
Well, no, you can all just eat. You ain't got to be a gourmet chef. No, not you ain't got to be a gourmet chef to feed yourself, have you? I'm not a great cook at all, but you look at the size of my gut, I eat well.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Our good buddy all the way from Australia, the other side of the globe, at Mangle_Chris on Twitter. He says, in the words of John Lennon, I wanted to be happy, and no never came close. Otherwise, I actually wanted to wrestle. I thought I would have thought most of us did at one point. Sorry. As I was in my late teens, the UK wrestling scene was few and far between at that time. Well, I questioned this, obviously, talking about the UK wrestling, scene at that age, because he lives on Ramsey Street and he's the other side of the globe. But apparently he could have made that long commute. So fair play to him. That's commitment to his wrestling training, Magsy.
I mean, that is absolute commitment. Doing a 6,000-mile trip every single week to go to wrestling training. Amazing.
If you want a committed trainee, everyone should go and sign Mr. Mangle right away. Rob at UTT Rob on Twitter. He says, I remember wanting to be a dentist because my mum worked next door to the dentists and they all drove Porsches. Brilliant.
I mean, that's fair. I suppose if you want a Porsche, be a dentist.
Could you not just do another job and get a Porsche?
As a kid, though, you don't kind of like do that breakaway of thought. You see a dentist driving a Porsche, you think that must be the car for dentists.
Fair enough. I wonder if I was at Yankum had a Porsche.
He wasn't a real dentist, don't you? He was burnt horrifically in a fire.
Well, no, that was after. And then he took the mask off.
Well, yeah, if you follow the Katie Vick storyline, he was clearly not burned as a kid in a fire in his parents' funeral home. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, but then when he took the mask off, there were no burns, so it was all in his head. He could have carried on his career in dentistry and owned even maybe more than one Porsche.
It could have, yeah. And he also had black curly hair as well as attached to his mask, so there is that. Yeah,
I blame Paul Bearer, manipulative bastard.
You won't be a dentist. That really hurt. That actually hurt.
I'm your dad and I burnt you all in a fire. But can you have a look at this fill-in for me, mate? Rob continues. As an adult now, I'm convinced I had lots of unnecessary dental work growing up, which is probably why they all had Porsches. Fair enough.
Can you, Rob, as a dentist, he would just like con all his family into getting dental work just so he could get to that Porsche.
The thing is with dentists, right? Obviously, unless you've got a private NHS dentist or whatever, if you're lucky enough to be on that sort of end of things, you just pay what they say when they say to pay it, don't you? There's no one really checking if you need that stuff done. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's going to be times when your tough ferrets, they got to sort it out, of course. But they turn around and go, let's give you a checkup. Oh yeah, well your K what's it and your back 49 or whatever is looking a bit manky. We got to do this and this, and then charge you 300 quid. You don't know, do you?
It's worse when they go, oh, we'll come in, we'll give you a scale and a polish, and it costs you like 80 quid, and all they do is basically scrape your teeth with the metal hook thing. You think I could have done that at home? Give me one of them, I'll do it myself for 80 quid.
Yeah, I bet you could buy those metal hooks on eBay. Or just sharpen a tent peg.
In fact, we'll all go into like amateur dentistry and we'll all drive fucking Porsches.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
We're doing it. This is the last episode of Chain Wrestling now. We're becoming dentists. Next
week on SJP World Media, 9 o'clock live. Dentistry live with Mags and Si. Steve-O at Total Steve-O on Twitter. He says, immediately I remember, must have been year 5 or 6, asked to draw what you wanted to do. So at school, I'm assuming he's asked to draw what he wants to do as a career and so on.
It was his mum. His mum asked him.
What?
It wasn't. There was a poor effort at a joke.
Yeah, well, don't do that, because that completely threw me then. I was so confused.
As if I knew. Like, no, I knew the real story, the backstory of Steve-O.
Yeah. They were all asked in year 5 or 6 what you wanted to do in your life. Well, was never what?
He
Well-
wanted to be a part of the SWAT team
Okay, right. Okay,
Oh.
I'm not understanding that properly.
or the SO19, which is the English version.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Maxie. The armed response. Yeah, he says here. To think 30 years later, I'm obsessed with the bill that regularly has SO19 used, and policing is something I've always been interested in. About it shows like the bill Line of Duty that highlights more how I'd like to join. By pure coincidence, my mate is training now to be a police officer, and what's that?
Stress. The stress from.
Oh, the stress from training. Look, I just want to clear up for people on the audio version. I can read.
Sa
But-
has had a stroke. He's forgotten how to read.
There's a few autocorrects that have popped up in Steve-O's tweets this week, so it's kind of throwing me a little bit, to be fair. And the stress from training, I literally have a Bill story to share.
Okay.
When at secondary school and did work experience, aged 14 at a guess, I worked in my newsagents. Said in the report that I wanted to work in retail. 15 years in retail, I want to get the fuck out and would discourage.
Oh wow.
I would discourage anyone thinking of going in an abysmal industry. So a decade and a half later, Steve-O's like, nah, mate, not for me. you know."
So he did work experience in a paper shop. The report said he'd do really well in retail in the end. It was sticking it out for 15 years and detests every day's in it. Brilliant.
Yeah, man. I worked at a paper shop years and years and years ago. I worked at a paper shop. That's graft, mind.
Mm.
That's really early
Was it-
starts, lumping all the papers around, everything. It's graft.
So you worked at a paper shop or you did a paper round?
No, I had a paper round much previous to that, but I worked in a paper shop in the last 10 years, to be fair, sort of maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah, 9 years ago, maybe. And I used to open up and sometimes I'd shut the shop as well, but it's hard work, mate, because you get all, especially on the weekend when you get all the inserts in the papers. They don't do that for you. You got to do that yourself. So you got to find the room to lay it all out, and there's stacks of paper you're lumping around, plus all the rest of the deliveries and all that. Eh?
Tell them to fuck off.
Tell them to fuck. Yeah, well, that was kind of what I was getting paid to do, though. So
Just read the paper. Tell everyone the news when they come in. Say you don't need to buy one. This is what happened today in the news. Blah, 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 blah. Now fuck off.
like Eric Bischoff at the beginning of Monday Nitro,
just give away the results.
giving all the spoilers away. And this happened in Israel, and there's a war going on over here. And in the sports section, there's this.
And there's a bird on page 3 with a cracking pair.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Give me a 45p. Off you go, pal. James at 80s and 90s wrestling. He says, when he was younger, I had a Lee Evans VHS. Comedian, not the footballer. From watching
Can you
it,
imagine the highlights of Lee Evans, the footballer? Jesus.
that would be quite a short cassette.
Yeah. 4 minutes.
Yeah. I had one of these 501 greatest goals videos back in the day, like the old VHS tapes, right? But it was from the old Football League. It was before the Premier League existed and stuff. And from there, I thought Mickey Quinn was like one of the best centre forwards ever because he was like, he had loads of goals on this 501 greatest goals thing. So I started looking out for stuff with Mickey Quinn, and I ended up with, from a car boot or a jumbo sale or something, Mickey Quinn's goals for Newcastle or Mickey Quinn's goals for Coventry, or there's really shitty made, VHS tape. It turns out it was just 35 minutes of him scoring tap-ins and penalties. It is the worst thing I've ever seen.
And eating pies at halftime.
Exactly. James says, yes, it was a VHS tape of Lee Evans, the comedian, not the footballer. From watching it, I wanted to be a comedian. Did routines in front of family, pre-mobile phone days, thank fuck. I'm not funny and hate speaking to crowds. I cringe looking back, and it makes me want to punch myself.
So it took the same route as Tolle. Basically, bullied and cajoled his family into putting up with his bullshit because he thought he was going to be a comedian.
Yeah, basically. They could have done like a double bill, couldn't they? He could have opened for the game show.
Yeah, he could have been the opener for Paul Tolly's band at WrestleMania. Could have been that.
Yeah, you know, if there's like a really dangerous match between, I don't know, Cactus Jack, who's lost his memory, and whatever on WrestleMania, and it's quite a dark moment, you're going to get a comedian out, lighten the mood, before Tolly plays a bit of music for everyone to go to the bar.
Holly and his Manic Street Preachers tribute band.
I wonder what Tolly's band would have been called. I hope he's listening and he tweets
The
us.
Tollygons.
The Tollygons. Cam at CamGriff92 on Twitter. He says, on a family holiday when I was maybe 9 or 10, I announced to my family I really wanted to be a taxi driver when I grew up.
I announced, family, gather round. I shall be a taxi driver.
Everyone to the meeting room, please.
Ding dong ding. Hear ye, hear ye.
Cam says, this dream was quickly shunned by my old man, saying they don't keep all the money they take off you. So obviously, you know, it wasn't a passion for ferrying drunk idiots around late at night, stinking a kebab and vomit. It was all about the money, Cam, wasn't it?
Yeah, you capitalist. You got what you deserve, Cam.
Yeah, there you go. This is how people end up
And
being
why?
fans of the booty man.
But then still, why a taxi driver? Because the taxi drivers you tend to pay like in shrapnel, in change.
Do you?
Why would? Yeah, well, yeah. Do you not? I mean, nowadays you probably don't because petrol prices have gone through the roof.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, it'd be like, oh, that costs £4. Here's £4, and have a quid tip.
So which would be a fiver. So that's not change, is it?
Yeah, but you get rid of your shrapnel in a taxi. That's the whole point.
Okay. You must be really popular when you're getting home from town.
Yeah, wait, 10p, 20.
Magsy getting his little plastic bags out from the bank and counting out the 5p's.
Ironically, I'd changed a fiver on purpose to pay the taxi driver.
Oh, man. God's sake. Cam continues. Heading into secondary school, I already knew I wanted some sort of trade to learn. Plumbing was my first thought, but again, quickly put down by my uncle, telling me tales of being shoulder deep in feces.
Brilliant.
I mean,
you could have been star of the YouTube channel that me and the wife are obsessed with, where they clean out shitty drains. That could have been you, Cam.
It could have. Isn't that a quite a scary and glorious thought? Cam also says he finished his apprenticeship and have been in construction ever since. Although now I'm a glorified postman and sit behind a desk, then swan off around site in my shirt and high vis, making sure I'm looking busy and I know what I'm doing. Geez, felt like Steve-O on this non-wrestling topic, he says.
Cam continues.
Yeah, Cam continues. No, that's it for him. But yeah, so he's one of the shirt and high vis jobs on the building site now.
The wanker that everybody hates. Like, oh come on, let's pretend. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that he's a wanker, but then people in general are the wankers that all the staff hate. They're like, you lean on your spade for a few hours, then the gaffer comes round with his clipboard, and then you have to pretend you're working, don't you?
Well, I suppose. You're really cross at him for liking the booty man, aren't you? That's really fired you up.
Well, it's triggered me. It's absolutely triggered me.
You know, Cam, you want to be careful, mate. Maxie's fired up, bud. Anya, my eldest
He's cleared
daughter.
up. He's not a health and safety knob. Well, there, you're back in the good book now.
Brilliant stuff. Anya on Twitter, my eldest daughter, she says, I wanted to be a dancer. I got close and did cheerleading for a year or two, but I get told often I would be good as a news reporter, and I'm very interested in it. Well, that's a career to look at, isn't it? You know, I know Anya also has done some photography at school and college as well, and she's very good at that. And I remember Anya doing the cheerleading, and Charlie also did cheerleading with her, and they are both very good. And the sort of cheerleading, is it called a trope?
Gang?
The club? The school? I
think it is the troop, cheerleading troop.
They were great. They were excellent with the girls and so many different ages and that. Yeah, it was great. It's a real shame. I don't know if COVID knocked it on the head or whatever, but I don't think they're going anymore, which is a real shame because so many girls would go there at different ages and so on. Yeah, really, really good they were. So yeah, that's a shame. And I know both two of my girls there, Charlie and Anya. Liv is more interested in other sports, but Charlie and Anya really, really enjoyed going. So yeah, it's a shame, really. But
yeah. But
these
she's
things happen, mate, don't they?
she's still young enough that she can chase those dreams. So don't get bogged down. Plow at it, keep at it, and I'm sure that if it's meant to be, you will get there. So yeah, don't give up on your dreams.
Exactly. I mean, I'm 41 now, and I'm very lucky that I've started a job that I like, because it took me 20 freaking years to find one.
Exactly.
You know, and I would still
So-
rather maybe be doing other things, but I love the job I've got. So
Pretty put right in your place.
Sharon, my wife
Sharon
in the chat.
chat. Sad they haven't gone there for years, and Charlie was tiny when they stopped.
Okay.
Wow, you've got.
I didn't mean when the girls stopped. I meant when the club stopped.
Have you been power bombed on some exposed concrete and had a
Amnesia.
Cactus Jack style
Yeah.
amnesia?
Yeah, maybe.
Because to be fair, he looked a little bit like you. Do you have tales of your laugh at sea?
I went on a ferry once. We went to Holland with it was a school trip, and it's like I always say I've never been abroad because you can't really take advantage of Amsterdam when you're 12, can you? You know, so it's that kind of scenario there.
The two major reasons why you go to Amsterdam, 12-year-old, you'd be fairly prohibited.
Yeah, exactly. I remember going around the ferry and thinking, well, there was just kids all over the place on the school trip, and nowadays it wouldn't happen.
Fucking murder.
Oh, you got to have a certain number of teachers to a certain number of kids now. Back then, it was almost like they would just, open the doors and go on then, make sure you're back here when we're back on
close
land.
the door behind you and wave you off.
Because there was just
Goodbye,
carnage,
kids.
mate. There was just carnage, kids everywhere. And somehow, a couple of these kids, 12, 13 years of age we were, I don't know if they bought some or they nicked them, but they had a couple of packs of Benson and Edges. And I remember them being Benson and Edges because it was the gold pack that my parents smoked when I was a kid. And I remember them smoking at the back of the ferry, not the back of the bus, at the back of the ferry, leaning over the water, hoping that nobody would notice them smoking these cigarettes, and everyone just getting pig sick. So yeah, that's my tale of being at sea, I suppose.
A crafty fag on the back of the ferry.
At the back of the ferry. At MillChris1 on Twitter. He says, it might sound weird, but I had no idea what career I wanted when I grew up. The only thing I wanted to be was a dad. Sounds strange, but that was it. I mean, how can it be to have a child and not bail on them when they are young?
Fair play. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And now look at Chris, what a dream he had, and he's now Lord of the Manor. He's got acres and acres, and he's got deer running around his estate.
He has in that big cavernous hall that he records in when he's guesting on podcasts. And
he then also did mention that he did have an ambition when he was younger. He wanted to be an ozone layer, apparently.
I don't get that.
No.
Is that some kind of joke, a London thing I've missed or something? Or
did they have an ozone layer? I thought they had a smog layer in London. Yeah,
I don't know, mate. I don't know. I don't get that. Chris, you'll have to elaborate on the ozone thing, my friend. Or maybe you were just a weird kid. Yeah.
I mean, he does support Millwall, so there is that.
Yeah. But then that's where he's from, so I can kind of appreciate that, I guess. But yeah, that's it for Twitter, my friend. That's all we got this week.
Thank fuck for that.
What about you, Maxie? What was your dream growing up? However pie in the sky and huge, or even then when you decided realistically career-wise what you wanted to do? What were your options?
So I, from a very young child, I always wanted to be a doctor, and actually came pretty close as well. Went to college, got the A levels that I needed. Went to Manchester School of Medicine for a couple of years. Then I got really, really ill, where I had to kind of like almost have a full year of university off, and it meant that I was way too far behind, and I would have to pretty much start the course again. And by then, I discovered drinking and bills and stuff like that. So yeah, to go into the amazing world of work, which never do that. Never go into the world of work. It's soul destroying.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah,
mate.
that was the year I lost my legs.
5
Brilliant.
nerds go in the
5
chat.
nerds
Brilliant.
But yeah, that was always my ambition to be a doctor, and yeah, I was on the way to achieving it when, ironically, I couldn't cure my own illness.
Why?
So I
What
was a
do you know?
shit doctor.
Do you know? Was there anything that triggered that? Then was there, I don't know, like a particular episode of Casualty or something?
No, I think it was just maybe family like put it in my head because I was really clever at school. Got really good grades and stuff like that. So it's one of those, you could be anything you want. You could be a doctor. So yeah, I think it was just that. And yeah, I went on to try and push for it. So that's why I say to people, never give up on your dreams, because you never know that how far your dreams can end up taking you. So
yeah.
So keep it up, people.
Yeah, fair point, mate. Fair point. Mine are relatively standard, I guess, when it comes to sort of big pie in the sky dreams. There was the obvious one, you know, with my musical leanings. I wanted to be in a band. A lot of people go through that. The only big issue with that was I'm shit at everything, so I couldn't. Magsy choking again there.
I was coughing then, and you made me laugh.
Sorry, mate. I could play a tiny little bit of guitar, knock out a few chords, but nothing. Nowhere near anything relevant to play any songs or anything like that. My lad can play guitar and he is fantastic. And I just look at him and think, man, you're amazing.
You
But also deep
bastard.
down, I'm like, you little shit. You know?
and why don't you be in a band? Nah, not for me, Dad.
Yeah, whatever.
You bastard.
I used
waste of talent.
I sang for maybe 2 months in a band. We never got past the rehearsing stage. And it was a case of we'd rehearse early Sunday mornings when we get the space for nothing. And I was going out Saturday night getting shit faced and not turning up and all that sort of stuff. And I was just a waster, mate. So and also I was shit
really
at it. Yeah, that was probably, looking back, that was probably a bigger hindrance, to be fair.
Yeah, because you do with an instrument, you can kind of hide behind your rest of your bandmates and just pretend. With a singer, you have to nail that. That's on you to do. So yeah,
that was it. So yeah, that was that. There was obviously that, you know, I played a lot of football when I was younger, and I mean, I was like I've said before on the show. I mean, I was never a good footballer, but I've always been quite big, but not fat like I am now. I was trim, but quite big and strong, and I was always very quick. So I always seemed to get in teams because I was quick and I was strong and all that stuff. I used to just work hard. So that sort of carried me so far. But when you got to a level when you actually needed ability as well,
you were
that's what kind of fucked me up. Yeah, you know. And I remember I smashed my knee up, and that's what I've operated on. I was like 19, 20, something like that. And my first touch was never good. And if you ain't got a good first touch, you're never going to make it in football at all, is it? But I was so quick that if I had a bad first touch, I'd get there before anyone else anyway. So I kind of got away with it. When I did my knee in, I lost a bit of zip.
Of Gloucester.
Exactly. When I did my knee in, I lost that little zipper pace. So all of a sudden, my first touch was so bad, I couldn't get there. And I was like, do you know what? I'm actually really shit at this. You know?
It's a revelation. I am terrible at football.
Yeah. My first touch used to go further than some kids could pass the ball. You know, it's that kind of level. And then the obvious one as well, my whole life since I was about 8 or 9 years of age when I first discovered it, is I wanted to be a wrestler or involved in wrestling somehow. I've always wanted to do that. As I've got older, my mindset has changed a little bit, and I've done a bit of commentary, and I love that because I was just involved with wrestling companies or whatever. That was, you know, that was great. But the idea of actually wrestling was always there in the back of my mind, and it's got to that point now at the age I'm at. I'm thinking, okay, that ship has definitely sailed now because I'm fat, old, and broken, you know. But again, even as recent as my 30s, wrestling schools are popping up around me, and I'm thinking, oh, should I? But no, that ship. I'm very old, fat, and broken, so that ship has definitely sailed, Magsy, my friend.
So essentially, what I got from pretty much all of your stories then was that you can be anything you want. but you need skill
Yeah.
in that field, and
Mhm.
you can only go so far without that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's okay to dream, but if you're shit at it, probably not going to go very far.
Dream realistically. Dream realistic.
Oh, there we go. Oh, Dan Griffin in the chat. What's he put there? That's brilliant, Magsy.
Says we need a fat old broken as a t-shirt in the live laugh love font.
Yeah, okay, we'll do it. I'll make one up.
And-
If people are going to buy
and
it,
then-
do it.
Our nerds and Dan both coming with the same joke that you are Lukaku in disguise.
Yeah, difference is though, Lukaku, you know, he takes his shirt off. He's put together and he looks amazing. I take my shirt off. I look like a bowl of blancmange that someone's half
You
spilled.
look like a Lukaku candle that's been melted.
Yeah, exactly. Magsy, is there anything else in the chat we should have a look at before we actually get round to talking a bit of wrestling? Because obviously we are a wrestling podcast.
Allegedly. So Sharon says that that Liv only wants to be an accountant. You did say it was Liv, didn't you?
Yes.
Because of the money. So
Yeah,
they're
she's switched on.
capitalist again. Dan saying retail is the drizzling shit. And Cam said he volunteered at a charity shop when he was younger. It was class. They let him straight onto the till. How much did you steal? How much money did you steal from that till?
I'll tell you what, charity shops though, Magsy, every now and again, well, I've done it for a long time to be fair, but there's loads in Gloucester. Loads. They're bloody
You
every
shot me.
Gloucester City Centre, right? Everything is closing down in Gloucester City Centre because it's a shit.
Same as Burnley. Same
Right.
as Burnley.
But we've got the quays. We've got Gloucester Docks, and that's being all developed. And you've got all the posh shops out there, and that's lovely. The cinemas out there, some nice bars out there. That's a real nice area. You walk 15 minutes into town, it's a dump. You know, it looks like what you imagine the centre of Liverpool to potentially look like. You know, scum everywhere.
Brilliant.
But what's left in Gloucester now is coffee shops, charity shops, and pound shops.
The exact same three that is all over Burnley.
Yeah,
Literally all over Burnley. You can literally go pound shop, coffee shop, charity shop,
Yeah.
pound shop, coffee shop, charity shop.
every now and again,
Bookies.
I used to.
Bookies as well.
Oh yeah,
Pound
there's
shop,
loads of bookies. Yeah,
loads of bookies.
yeah. Every now and again, though, I used to go on a little wander through all the charity shops because sometimes you can find some absolute gems in there. There's one day I went in there and I root through all the records. Somebody had obviously just got rid of all of their hard rock albums. And I came out with like 15 vinyls for, I don't know, for like 75p or something stupid like that. And there was like classic Motorhead, Poison, Motley Crue, all sort of fantastic, you know. Most of the time it's like Engelbert, fucking Humperdinck or whatever, you know. But every now and again you get that one day where somebody has sold some
gem.
good shit. Yeah, it's worth it, pal. It's worth it.
I'll take your word for it. Anyway, back to the chat.
Yeah, sorry.
We've got Dan Griffin. I mean, if you want to reminisce about your days hunting through charity shops, you are more than welcome to, just on your own time. So Dan Griffin has said the Tollygons, Paul's band, and their hit song "Oxo Munching." No, what? It's not Oxos. We've gone through this. It's no stock cubes.
Oh, we did that on the
Cyanide.
show, didn't we?
We did, and it was the worst thing that we've ever done.
Man, I totally forgot we'd done that. That was
It's because
fucking
the
horrible.
salt rotted your brain.
That was
Yeah, that
one
was
of the
grim.
worst. I felt so ill.
Yeah, it was grim. I ate a full one as well. Not
Yeah,
like
you're
you, who
fat
just had
fat.
a nibble. Then we have Cam saying he was butter boy. Guys, come on, all about that cash money again. Taxi drivers, they don't come off as somebody who would be affluent, do they? They have to work ridiculous hours to make a wage. And
Well,
Cam
got
saying
my
that,
cars, though.
yeah, owned by the taxi company.
No, some of them, like, you know, they work from the rank and that, but they got nice cars, haven't they? That's their own private car, like.
Well, I certainly wouldn't have a nice car and drive it around as a taxi. I'm not, unless you were Ubering, I suppose.
I suppose, yeah. I've never
Anyway.
used an Uber.
You would not like the prices.
Would I not?
That's why.
Okay.
No, they're ridiculous. Cam Griffin saying that drain clearing videos are unreal. Yeah, honestly, they're so addicting. So you need to watch that. As
not
you're
for
going to
me, mate.
sleep again. you need to watch a shitty drain getting unblocked. It's just immense. Just
I'd have nightmares about it being in the bed and stuff, though. And what, you know,
do it whilst you're drinking like some Horlicks or some Ovaltine.
right? No, I won't. No.
Dan saying that Cam is a fully a wanker though, so I was right in the first place. Cam saying feels worse than upsetting my own father making me R8 this week. The thing with me is I've got a very short memory. I can be mad, ridiculously mad at something 1 minute and then totally forget about it the next. So you're good, Cam.
I forgot what he's on about, to be honest.
Yeah, I am. Oh, that's where you got rinse from Sharon saying that the kids hadn't been to cheerleading for years. Connor says here in the States they are competitive cheer and school cheer from what he's seen. Looks like it takes a lot, and he wouldn't try it, but it does look interesting. Yeah, I've got a few American friends on the various social medias who are they kind of push their kids into doing like competitive cheerleading. It's very, it's very competitive, like ridiculously competitive. Connor also says that Amsterdam is the puff capital of the world, and he puts puff in speech marks. I assume he means puff as in like marijuana. The devil's lettuce. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know about that, about anything to do with the sexy cabbage or anything like that.
The sexy cabbage.
Cam and Dan, when I said about you guys having a crafty fag on the back of the ferry, they said it's a different kind of crafty this week. Better than a CWF crafty at the back of the ferry. Hey, you never know. Unless you are like going into the wind, then obviously you're going to get splashback. But
this, seawater is salty, so maybe.
So when it's all like dripping down your face, you go, it was the seawater. Not good. I have definitely not been masturbating on the back of this boat, and you can't prove a thing.
Oh man.
Lord. So 5 nerds go. Matt says my work colleague said he looks like Dr. Robotnik when I was walking around the forecourt on the CCT the other day, and I don't know whether to be offended or happy. Oh, I can't help you there. Did you have the like crazy like ginger sparked hair and mustache as well?
Is Dr. Robotnik the one from Sonic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I know who you mean.
Sharon says Black John Cena looks angry. Above Black John. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
That's Darren Young. He looks like John Cena.
Really? Do you think?
Yeah, facially, he looks so much like John Cena. He really does, mate.
Okay.
And once it's pointed out to you, I didn't get it, but then once it's pointed out to you, you'll never unsee it. It's just there. He looks like John Cena.
I don't see it, but he does have a very wild hairstyle. It looks like he's been in a wind tunnel for a long, long time. Cam says he's not the embezzler from Morty and Fitch Pod. I'm an honest Yorkshire gentleman, Mr. Mags. How dare you? And Anya says we went charity shopping on her 18th.
Yeah, Anya lives with her mum, who is, an ex of mine from a long way back, and we meet up on her birthday and around Christmas and so on. And we go for something to eat, do a bit of shopping, and all that. It's quite a nice time. It's like I sort of dropped into being our regular thing for her birthday. And this year, we did the same, usual shops and a bit of grub, and then just wandered around charity shops, chatting. It was bloody lovely.
On her 18th birthday as well, you rolled out the barrel and said, "Come on, Anya, we'll go charity shop. You can have anything you want as long as it costs £1."
I'll tell you what, the money was spent in other shops when it was my money. But that's fine. It was her birthday. That's the way it goes. And Anya did go out in town clubbing that night and did ask everyone to go with her. But honestly, the idea of going nightclubbing now scares the piss out of me. Especially when I could potentially see my 18-year-old in there, my 19-year-old lad in there. I want no part of that. That's no. You go and have fun. I want no part of that. I'm too old for that nonsense.
Especially when they go out at the time that you would normally be going to bed. That's when they start there now.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
they're going out at like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night because they have pre-drinks or whatever.
That's not
you know?
Burnley. In Burnley, you start the pre-drinks at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
Yeah. And
That's
people
ridiculous.
literally wander in at like dinner time from the bars. We've got a 24-hour alcohol license in Burnley as well.
That's insane, man. 24-hour alcohol, man. If I was a single man living in Burnley, I'd be dead.
Mm-hmm. It's grim. It's absolutely grim. Dan wants to know if you have nightmares of shit in the bed. Is that something you suffer with on the regular because you don't want to watch videos of drains being unblocked?
No, I get, especially if I've had something to eat before going to bed quite late. Certain foods, right? I mean,
but you're not eating like chocolate mousse or like chicken tikka masala, are you?
No, just hear me out, okay? Sharon says I'm not allowed now to have anything spicy after 7 o'clock, first of all, because it makes me have crazy dreams. And also, I end up coughing a lot and I'm almost sick because of like acid reflux and all that,
Okay.
Right? Because I'm getting old. And also,
your farts
certain
would melt the paint off the wall.
And also cheese and stuff. If I eat cheese just before going to bed, it messes me head up. So if I watch, say,
is that the devil's cheese? Like
the devil, yeah,
sexy cheese.
But for example, I watched a couple of episodes of Doctor Who that had spiders in it. The bad guys were spiders. I woke up in the night yelling, thinking spiders were all over me in my bed, and I'd had a bit of cheese on toast before going to bed. So these sort of things happen. Or if that, I woke up in the night before thinking that there's a serial killer on a Channel 5 documentary I watched was in my room, and I could see him. Now it's not really him; he's in prison. But it was so vivid, and it must be because of the cheese nut.
Okay, so you're equating all that if you watched whilst in bed a YouTube video of a drain being unblocked, you would go, Sharon, there's shit everywhere. It's all on the walls.
Possibly. I'm not.
I had the worst dream ever, Sharon. What? Our drains were blocked. Oh my god.
I'm not saying that's exactly what would happen, and I'm not saying it would definitely happen, but there is a chance. That's the thing.
There's a chance. The drains are blocked, and we've run out of toilet paper.
There's shit everywhere.
Oh, brilliant. With sexy cabbage t-shirt incoming. Hashtag sexy cabbage. Dan, they told me the boat needed plenty of semen. Can you imagine how slippy it would be on that far deck as well? Jesus Christ. Deck. Oh, there's shit everywhere, Sharon. It's following me on the ferry.
It's all over the poop deck. Oh, I should have had that baby Balfour bed.
Matt confirms that he didn't have the hair, but he had the mustache and the braces like Dr. Robotnik. That's brilliant. You need to tweet us a picture of that, Matt, for research purposes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then Scotty said, "Yep, Cena made a joke of Darren Young looking like him on Raw in 2010. I don't get it, but I'll have another look when we get to the match, I suppose.
It's there, mate. It's definitely there."
Sharon says, if you were a single man, full stop, you'd be dead. I don't disagree with that.
I reckon.
Same here. I mean, I may act all I am Marty, but if it wasn't for Mrs. Maggs, I would be definitely dead. And Scotty said, don't worry, sir, I'm still in prison, not in your room. That's a horrific dream. Can you imagine waking up to Scottish Danny in your room? Sharpening his knife.
Just going through the wrestling VHSs. I thought you had in your house 4 here somewhere. Sorry, where's that?
You've got seasoned beatings. You're going to have to die for that. Oh, Jesus. This is a wrestling show, by the way, folks.
It is, apparently so. It is. Is that all we've got then, Magsy? Is that all we got?
That is all caught up for now.
Okie doke. Shall we talk a little bit of wrestling then, my friend?
I've had enough for today. I'm going to call it a day now.
Okay.
And go home.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Magsy, I won a poll.
I know. I bet you had power wank over doing that.
Well, I don't think I do anything powerfully anymore. But I was
Yeah, you won.
Seriously.
You was.
I
I
did.
bet you were. I said to the to Mrs. Maggs that Saz actually won a poll for a while. For the first time in a while, she said, "Oh, wow, have your polls been popular?" When it's what happens when you go mental. People vote for you.
Well, what I'd like to do now actually is turn to the CWF and say that you've let us down massively, because I watched this match back today for the purpose of the show, and I wish Magsy had won because this was not fun.
Now, do you know? I don't fully agree with that.
Okay. Interesting.
Only because I hate the result.
Mhm.
I absolutely hate it, and I'm sure we'll get to it. But for a multi-man match done by the WWE, I've seen much worse.
Yeah, okay. I've seen worse, but also I've seen better.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
You know, but we'll get into it. The winner of this week's poll was the match from SummerSlam 2010, 7v7 elimination match, August the 15th, 2010, from the Staples Center, Los Angeles. Nexus versus Team WWE. Now, I've not listed everyone's names with regards to who is in the Nexus and so on, because I'm going to get it wrong over and over again. I'm going to refer to Sheffield as Ryback and so on. People are just going to have to live with it because, you know, it's just the way it is. Team WWE, they were a little bit more, shall we say, disjointed going into the show with regards to the members of their 7. The Nexus obviously were the 7 members of the Nexus. You had Wade Barrett as the leader and so on. They were very much portrayed as a combined unit, a team working together after full-time contracts on the WWE main roster. And they were attacking all sorts of people on Monday Night Raw. Bret Hart was the general manager for a while. They attacked him. They even attacked Vince McMahon at one point, I believe, and Justin Gabriel hit a splash on McMahon at in that instant. Cena, they targeted quite a few times. Did they attack Punk as well at one stage?
Punk ends up being the leader of the Nexus.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. But that was kind of the situation. So then we went into SummerSlam with this kind of 7-on-7 elimination, almost Survivor Series rules, Magsy, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the 7th member of Team WWE was supposedly Great Khali. He got took out of the equation by the Nexus, all because he's shit, and they realized that and thought, don't really want to book him in the main event of a pay-per-view. We made a mistake here. Edge and Chris Jericho left the team at one point just to return the following week and say, okay, we're back in.
Well, I mean, they were heels at the time.
Yes.
This Team WWE was, it was essentially Team Raw because they were all like Raw stars, but it was a weird mix of faces and heels. It kind of didn't really work, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get really interesting dynamics with that, though, don't you? I mean, you look back to the whole Alliance invasion stuff in 2001, and you had heels and faces on the same team, and heels representing WWF when the WWF was supposed to be, I suppose, the good guys in that scenario. It can sometimes make for a really interesting dynamic, I think, Mags.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. If it felt like there was more on the line, but I think with this, it didn't kind of have that gravitas because it was only these few people who were involved. A lot of the other roster carried on with their own storylines. It wasn't like a whole us versus them WWE storyline. It didn't encompass everyone. So I think if it was, we have to put aside our differences for the good of the company, then yeah, it worked. But this, even though Michael Cole tried to make out that there would be severe consequences if the Nexus won, it didn't quite have that kind of a finality if they'd have won than the invasion angle did.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. You also had the interesting back and forth with The Miz, didn't we, going into the show? Now, The Miz at the time was the Money in the Bank briefcase holder and the US champion. He was on a bit of a roll, and Team WWF were trying to get the Miz to be involved. Obviously, he's holding one of the secondary championships, the secondary championship on Raw at the time. They're trying to get the guy involved. You can see why they, even though he was a heel and not very popular, you can understand their reasonings for that. The Miz was umming and ahhing back and forth. And then even on the day of the show, we get a segment where Edge and Jericho are trying to convince the Miz to join them. The Miz goes out to the ring later in the show and cuts quite a lengthy promo. It's about 10 minutes, I think, Max, isn't it?
Yeah, he gets a lot of time to basically give us his answer, whether he was going to be part of Team WWE. Runs down the fans a lot, doesn't let them. Tries to have his own kind of a segment where it was like The Rock, this ain't sing along with the champ style, where he got to say his catchphrase, but essentially he did say he would join Team WWE.
Yes, and that basically takes us to the match itself, I guess, doesn't it? And we have the entrances, and first of all, the Nexus theme, which I suppose was the NXT theme for a while, wasn't it? The actual show theme. That's a banger. I like that, and it works really well for this Nexus group, I think.
Yeah, it's the We Are One, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And I also like, as simple as it is, the imagery of seeing them all stood there, the 7 of them in a line, wearing the Nexus t-shirts with the yellow block and the black N. So simple, but yet it still looked quite impressive as a visual, looking at them all in the ring at the same time, didn't it?
They looked united. They looked like they were on the same page. They looked like an army. They looked like this could be a changing of the guard. And you've got to remember as well that these were all rookies as well. These were all really kind of young in their wrestling career. To be headlining the second biggest WWE pay-per-view so early in your career, that's a huge amount of pressure. And I think some of them carried it really, really well. Some of them wilted a little bit under the pressure, but some of them really did carry it well. But yeah, it's a great visual of them all coming out to the same song, all stood in basically in formation. Yeah, it was a cool image.
Yeah. We then get the Team WWE entrances, and they're all individual, which I suppose maybe leans to them not being fully on the same page again, I guess. But everyone is supposed to be cheering for Team WWE, even though you have heels in the mix. So I suppose you're getting pops from the crowd on each occasion that people's music hit. It's a bit of an old wrestling trick, I guess, isn't it? The babyface's music hits, you get a reaction from the crowd and so on. Bret Hart coming out. Obviously, I remember Bret being in this match, and that's great. But how awesome was it hearing Bret's music and seeing him walk out? And he's not wearing wrestling gear. In fact, there's no pink on him at all, which is slightly jarring. He's got a white t-shirt on for a start,
and jorts.
Yeah, exactly. But how great was it just seeing Bret involved?
Yeah, it was. I mean, after all the things that happened with Bret in the WWF and the animosity, to see those bridges rebuilt, and we know that he couldn't take any bumps in the ring. He couldn't get a hit, but just having him there. With all the things that he's done, the guy is a living legend in wrestling. To have him as part of this match, it must have been amazing for the rest of the guys. Absolutely amazing, because it was so cool having him as part of Team WWE.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of guys, I suppose you can see here that it is Raw only representing WWE, because you look at a couple of guys on the team. Okay, you're going with 7, which is quite a big number for a tag team anyway. But with half the roster out of commission because they're on the SmackDown side of things and dealing with their own stories and their own feuds and so on, the likes of, I suppose, R-Truth, okay, they're popular at the time, probably on a bit of a roll, but it didn't quite fit seeing R-Truth stood next to the likes of Cena, Edge, Jericho, and even Bret, I guess.
How dare you? Ron the Truth Killings, 2-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Vince McMahon's favorite wrestler.
Is that right?
Vince McMahon and R-Truth have an amazing relationship, apparently. They are like really, really close friends.
Okay. That's nice.
Yeah, it is. I mean, two people you would not think would be friends
No.
at all.
No, a bit of an odd
But
one.
yeah, it was bulked out, wasn't it? I mean, it was pretty bulked out. I mean, you had some genuine big stars in there. Jericho was amazing. Edge, one of the best heels. I think at this time he said he was 9 times world champion. Cena. Morrison is I think he was kind of like mid card, but he was still like a solid face. Obviously, Bret Hart was massive. But yeah, I think R-Truth was there to maybe round out the numbers.
Yeah. The Miz does come out because he has accepted his, the invitation, I guess, to be part of this 7-man team. Sorry, but Cena cuts him off very, very quickly and introduces the guy who is actually going to be the 7th member of Team WWE because he was saying we can't hang around waiting for you to answer. It's too serious a situation, and we get Daniel Bryan.
But this annoyed me because Cena said you can't make the decision on the day of the show.
Yeah,
that's fair. But then why were Edge and Jericho asking him to be a member on the day of the fucking show? Why were they asking him? If the decision had already been made that you were going to have Daniel Bryan, why were 2 of your teammates asking him on the day of the show? Makes no sense.
Yeah, it totally does. What also felt very strange was Daniel Bryan coming out and not having his normal music that we're used to now.
Valkyries.
Yeah,
the Valkyries. Yeah.
That was very strange to me. Obviously, this is incredibly early, but it still
not
felt
having
weird.
long hair and a massive goat beard as well.
Well, yeah, that is true. He looked very young, didn't he? Obviously, he is young. It's 12 years ago, but
he looked very, very young. Yeah, everybody did 12 years ago.
I don't think I did. The match begins when, obviously, we said about Nexus in their t-shirts forming a line and looking like an army, as Magsy said, in the ring. The single entrances of Team WWE mean that they're sort of gathering on the bottom of the entranceway, the bottom of the aisle. And then when Daniel Bryan comes down to join them, much to, Miz's disappointment, the Team WWE, or the faces, I guess, for want of a better term, they all pile into the ring, and we start off how I believe most multi-man matches should start, with just absolute bloody chaos.
Yeah, carnage, absolute carnage.
Yeah,
and after the Team WWE basically dispatch of the Nexus, and they're all kind of like angry and kicking off at the side of the ring. They're really mad that Daniel Bryan is part of the team. Now we get now that Daniel Bryan is an amazing wrestler, but surely the thought process should have been, I would rather have Daniel Bryan than the Miz at that time, because you're talking about somebody who was, in WWE terms, relatively new to the business, against a wrestler like the Miz, Money in the Bank holder, current champion, former world champion. Surely you'd be like, yes, thank God, we've been dealt a bit of luck here. We've got shitty Daniel Bryan, who got fired not a couple of months before. So
yeah, I guess. But then I suppose
they're absolutely fuming about it.
On commentary, they were saying that he knows the Nexus better than anyone. So maybe that was a concern of theirs. I don't know. But I'm with you, Magsy. It's kind of that thing of that maybe they should be a little bit happy about this option. I don't know. But there we go. It becomes quite clear when it all starts calming down a little bit, and we get down to, I suppose, 1-on-1 in the ring with 6 either side in the corners. The star power, because the Nexus, as you said, Max, they're all rookies. They're all new to the business. The star power is heavily stacked in the one corner, isn't it? And it becomes even more apparent when we see that first image of the ring, and both sets of teammates, I guess, are divided across, facing each other, corner to corner. You're sort of looking across at the likes of Heath Slater and Tarver, is it, the other guy? And then you look across the ring to the likes of Jericho and so on.
Monty Brown, as how
exactly. It's very much a case of, okay, this should be a no contest, really. Here, looking at this, you look at the sort of quality levels in theory.
I understand that, but the way the Nexus the Nexus had been portrayed up to now is strength in numbers, and I think that's how this storyline should have gone. And we might as well kind of like delve into what potentially could have happened with the Nexus if they'd have won this match. I think we could have had some really big stars come out of this. I mean, some of the wrestlers in Nexus did have decent careers. I mean, Wade Barrett ended up being champion. We had Heath Slater, who stuck around for a long time, but there were wrestlers in that group who I don't think got enough time to show their character or enough time to learn the way of being a WWE superstar. And this match is the start of cutting the Nexus storyline off at the knees. I think it could have gone on for so much longer. It could have been a real kind of a really long story arc, and we could have had the opportunity for these guys to become big stars. But John Cena does what John Cena does, and we ended up having Ryback being the breakout star of this group, which is a crime against wrestling.
Yeah, it is. It is. You say about certain guys not getting time and so on. That doesn't just apply to, I suppose, their careers and TV time going forward. It applies in this match as well, because we get two very quick eliminations, don't we? We have Darren Young. He's sent packing very, very quickly when Daniel Bryan forces him to tap out, which I understand why. I think it's quite clever, because straight away it puts over Daniel Bryan as being this strong part of Team WWE. He's literally, within the first minute or two, eliminated someone. So straight off the bat, he's elevated right there, isn't he?
Yeah, and the Nexus losing two in quick succession for me absolutely makes sense, because they are young, they are green in the ring. They should fall for perhaps some tactics that the older, more established wrestlers should be able to pull off. So that to me makes sense. It's just that Darren Young got absolutely no time to shine in this match whatsoever. Literally, he may have as well not have been there. And for me, Tarver, the Wish version of Monty Brown, got too much time. He was just fucking awful, absolutely awful. So I was happy when he got eliminated. He was shit, wasn't he? He was shit.
Not good. He was not good. John Morrison eliminated him relatively quickly, I guess, as well, didn't he? Pinned him to eliminate Tarver as well. Sent him packing.
How good of a move is that Starship Pain as well?
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
So good.
I mean, with regards to John Morrison, I don't know how often he's going to come up or how often we're going to talk about the guy in the course of Chain Wrestling. I mean, it's, this is like the 92nd link in the chain. We've not spoke about Morrison a great deal up to now. There must be reasons for that. But how, I suppose, deviating a little bit, how do you feel Morrison's career has gone? Because I felt at one point there was a huge amount of potential there. He looks like a movie star. The guy can talk. He can obviously wrestle, and he's an exciting talent as well. He's not just a guy who can work to a certain level. He's exciting for people to watch. He's got this move set that's quite unique. But he never quite seemed to click and get it all together at the same time to sort of make that next step from IC title, United States title, and so on into the world title picture. I mean, there was an occasion where he wrestled Cena for the world title quite early on in one year. Didn't quite work out there, and he's bumped around a few other companies as well. But
was he never the WWE ECW champion as well?
I don't know. He did wrestle on that brand, didn't he? And I felt he held the Impact title for a while as well.
Yeah. He, after leaving WWE for one of the numerous times, he kind of went on a tour, didn't he, of like loads of companies, and he would like change his last name to be like a link to that company, like he was Johnny Lucha or Johnny Impact, stuff like that. he should have been a world champion. He has all of the tools that would have been a WWE champion. Could talk on the mark, a really cool moveset. Still incredibly talented. I just don't know. Sometimes it just doesn't happen for some people, and they never can kind of like get over that mountaintop, I suppose. But yeah, he should have been a WWE champion for me.
Yeah, I agree. Just maybe well, I suppose the time that it should have happened coincided with Cena, and we're going to talk about those sort of decisions in a little while, I think. Ryback eliminates Morrison quite quickly, or Kip Sheffield, I think his name is here, isn't it?
Skip Sheffield.
Sorry, Skip Sheffield. Ryback looks weird here. He's incredibly put together, but when he wears the singlet, it's almost like it gives him color further up from his waist. But with no hair, no beard, he just kind of looks really plain all the way down.
Yeah, he looks like a cheap version of Goldberg, I suppose.
Yeah. Without the charisma.
I mean, in this match, because he's so kind of fresh to the company, he actually doesn't look that bad. He's got a good look with him.
Yeah, he does. Magsy coughing his guts up again there. Apologies.
Yeah, and I think when just a cold, sir. It's just a cold. But I think in this match, he's especially his few minutes with Morrison, he uses his limited skill set pretty well. Obviously, over using his power and his strength. There's a point that I think it's with Jericho that he tries to do kind of like the gorilla press, and he muffs that up a little bit. But he looked in this match like he had the potential to be someone good. We obviously know that he didn't really kind of get any better than this, and he ended up actually injuring a lot of people and was very kind of stiff and rough in the ring, and obviously has a massive delusions of grandeur where he thinks he's the best thing that's ever happened in wrestling and keeps thinking he's going to be coming back to WWE. Hopefully not, but he did have potential out of the whole group of Nexus beyond Wade Barrett. I'd say he looked like he had the most potential to make it. He certainly would look like a Vince McMahon style guy. Just then the bell rings.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, Wade Barrett's obviously the star of Nexus. The guy can talk, he can wrestle, he's got a certain look to him. I would lean more towards Justin Gabriel as being the guy that I would think is like second in line to him. But that's more from me maybe being a bit naive from a wrestling standpoint as opposed to a WWE standpoint, because he's got no charisma whatsoever, has he?
Who, Ryback or Justin Gabriel?
Justin Gabriel.
I forgot he was even in the group. It's PJ Black, isn't it? Yeah, it's PJ Black.
Says a lot. Says a lot.
He has talent. There's a part in the match where he, I think it's against Morrison, where he's doing the all the flashy kicks. Oh no, I think it might be against R-Truth actually. Okay. He's doing all the flashy kicks, but yeah, he is definitely a charisma vacuum. I would never have pinned him as the second in command. I'd pin him as just above Tarver. Okay,
interesting. And we're currently obviously 3 or 4 weeks in to looking at NXT from when it first started at Full Sail, the Black and Gold era, as it's called, on NXT Rise and Fall, carried on the SJP World Media Network, myself and Joshua Goodwin. And he's in that. This is 2012, the time we're looking at on NXT, the NXT Rise and Fall podcast, sorry. And it's exactly the same. The guy can really, really work, and he's having some fantastic matches on the NXT shows we're looking back for the podcast. But as soon as you put a microphone in front of him, it's done. It's just like, oh man.
Yeah.
He needs someone to talk for him. Some people just can't do it, and that's fine. Some people have different strengths. But here it's a case of, well, management need to help him out a little bit. Don't put him in those scenarios, or put someone in there to talk for him.
Yeah, and that's why he's in a group of 7 people, so they can hide those flaws.
Yeah, totally. After Ryback has sent Morrison packing, the action I find is really quick. There's a lot of tags in and out. There's a lot going on, but it feels really fast, I suppose, because there is so many moving parts, Max. There's so many people who are trying to get in, do a bit, get out again, because you don't want to just stand on the apron and do nothing, do you? I suppose.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the kind of like stories of the match, though. With Cena not getting in the ring till right near the end. But yeah, I suppose when you have teams with weaker members, I suppose you let them have their couple of minutes of ring time and get rid of them pretty quickly before you settle down into like the meat and potatoes of the match.
Yeah, exactly. And I understand why it's 7-a-side, because the Nexus is 7 guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I almost felt with the quick eliminations and how much they had to, almost similar to a War Rumble, I guess. Sometimes you have to eliminate the chuff to get down to what you want.
Yeah,
it almost felt like it could have been 4-on-4 or 5-on-5, really.
Yeah,
you know,
which is a point I will get to later on.
Okay, no worries. Ryback eliminates R-Truth. And again, Ryback here, I'm not a big Ryback fan in any way, stretch the imagination, don't get me wrong, but certain guys doing certain power moves look amazing. Goldberg is one of them. Scott Steiner, for a certain time in his career, was one of them. Ryback here, hitting certain clotheslines, he looks a monster, doesn't he?
Yeah, they're almost on the level of JBL clotheslines, just because they look legitimate. They look like they'd take your head off, and he takes out both Morrison and R-Truth with him, and yeah, that 2 very quick pins essentially.
Yeah, I mean, after that, this is what I really want to talk about. I've got a few notes on it here. Let's talk Bret Hart, because after the after the R-Truth elimination, Bret tags in, and I got a massive kick out of this at the time, and I got a massive kick out of this today watching it back as well, because obviously I keep saying Sean's my guy and winding people out saying Bret screwed Bret and all that, but I love Bret Hart as well, of course I do.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't do a lot because obviously he can't. He's got the issues he has. However, those right hands still look legit. Mm-hmm. He slams one of his opponents. I think it's Heath Slater. He works over for a while.
Yeah.
The punches look fantastic, and that kind of forward elbow drop, I guess, for want of a better term, where everyone is aware of it. Bret does it off the middle rope. He grabs his forearm and jumps forwards. He does that a couple of times, but on the deck. Everything looks so good from Bret here. He just looks an absolute star before ultimately he gets himself disqualified. Well,
everything bar the atomic drop. That's a move that maybe should stay in the early 90s.
Yeah, it's not a good one. He applies a sharpshooter on, I think that was on Heath Slater as well, wasn't it? And we get a chair thrown into the ring. Bret, for some reason, releases the sharpshooter, which I think stuff like that when wrestlers do that always puzzles me. It's like, well, why have you done that?
And picks up the chair.
Yeah, and then just starts waffling people with it and gets disqualified.
Mm-hmm. Well, he hits. I think it's Ryback. Ryback comes in and he clobbers Ryback in the ribs and the back, but obviously that's going to lead to him being disqualified using a foreign object. But him and Cena, both massive veterans in the sport, are trying to argue with the referee that, well, that should be fair. They slid it into the ring. That's never been the case in wrestling. You use that weapon whilst the ref was looking. It's your fault. Simple as that.
Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah,
but it made sense. It absolutely made sense because Bret got in some shots. We got the crowd got to see Bret working, but he also didn't take any damage. Didn't make his CTE any worse. So we got that joy of seeing Bret in 2010 without him taking a bump.
Yeah, exactly. And Bret using the chair leads to the elimination of Skip Sheffield, doesn't it? Because we get a code breaker from Jericho, who then tags Edge, who hits a spear. Sheffield is out. Matt Stryker at this point on commentary says I understand their job is to hype up what we're watching, but he says the WWE has been challenged before, the NWO, WCW, the Alliance, but nothing like the Nexus before. Fuck off, Striker. You absolute melt.
Over egging the pudding. Absolutely over egging the pudding. And then if whilst we're talking about commentary, Michael Cole as well, he had a vendetta against Daniel Bryan. He hated Daniel Bryan with it should have been the Miz. We shouldn't have this fool. He's an idiot. Why have we got him in?
But isn't this the time when Michael Cole was working as the heel commentator? Didn't he wrestle around this time as well?
This wasn't around the Coal Miners match, was it?
I don't know.
Did he call them the Coal Miners? Yeah, it may be, but yeah, I just remember thinking, "Wow, Michael, give him a bit of slack," because he was kind of like blaming all of WWE's problems if they lost this match on Daniel Bryan. He'd hardly been in the ring. It's not like it was his fault people had been eliminated. He was just, now we've just got to put up with Daniel Bryan and Cena, and this is fucking bullshit.
The Nexus work over Edge for a little while, and this is like, I think, potentially the first time the match settles down into a kind of heels in control kind of situation.
Yeah, they got rid of the chuff.
Yeah, exactly. David Otunga tags in. Well, you say we got rid of the chuff. David Otunga tags in, and he's DDT'd, and Y2J hits a lion salt for 3/4 of the way across the ring. He barely makes it, but it looks amazing.
It's almost more of a handstand flip than an actual moonsault.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was. Jericho nowadays could not pull that off.
No,
not from that far.
The Walls of Jericho applied. Otunga taps.
Yeah, and what was Otunga's the point of him? I mean, I know he does commentary, but of all the matches I've seen of him, he's very, very basic. And the only time when the commentary speaking about him, they're always talking about his wife. I think his wife is it Jennifer Hudson, the singer, or something like that.
Which who's a big deal? She was a massive deal, wasn't she?
Yeah, but that was his whole wrestling gimmick, though. That he's married to someone famous. I mean, what is the point of him?
I didn't mind him when he started doing he was like a lawyer, I think, or something like that. Was it for John Laurinaitis, who's his legal guy? That made a little bit more sense. They were giving him something to do himself. But yeah, there weren't a lot there, mate, was there? Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Slater then eliminates Chris Jericho pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean,
so
what a pin for Ron Weasley there. Got a big name on Ron Weasley's card there. Jesus Christ. And what I think Matt Striker called him the one-man rock band, which obviously he must have known what was coming up in Heath Slater's future.
Yeah, exactly. Cena and Edge seem to have a bit of a disagreement for a moment before Edge gets rolled up and he's now eliminated.
Yeah, it was Edge was slung into Cena, knocked Cena off the apron. Cena's obviously had been watching it and knows that it wasn't Edge's fault, but still gives him the dagger eyes. And Edge is kind of arguing with Cena at the side of the ring, and then he's rolled up to the schoolboy of death by Heath Slater. Edge is clearly not happy about that, and spears John Cena.
Yes, yeah. They Edge and Jericho, I suppose, returning to their heel roots because they were getting a few cheers in this match because of the sort of dynamic you have with the Nexus and so on. They're having a go at Cena. They slap him about a bit and so on. Cena gets beaten down by the Nexus for a little while, but this is very punchy, kicky, to coin a Nitro Nights phrase. Very punchy, kicky. There's not a lot going on. We do get some the dueling chants, don't we? The "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks" chants, which is interesting when you actually look in the crowd because there's not kids, there's older guys wearing Nexus t-shirts chanting "Let's go Cena." Made no sense.
It didn't. Absolutely didn't. And that's where the crowd chants follow this storyline, because the rest of this ended up not making no sense. So you had three of the better wrestlers, I suppose, in the Nexus against Cena and a rookie Daniel Bryan. It should have been all over, but for the singing and dancing. But no, this is where you can read a lot of people's opinions on this. Jericho, Edge, a lot of Nexus, the teammates have all got their views on this. But essentially, this is where Cena used his politics backstage to get the end of the match changed. Apparently, 2 hours before the match actually started, he basically said to Vince, "I think I should win this match. WWE should win." Edge and Jericho were in the meeting room, and they said, "No, that sounds like an awful idea. We want to put these guys over. We want to make these into big stars." Cena has since backtracked and said he knows he made the wrong decision. He then also has said that it wasn't his decision. He just can kind of like put his thoughts across it, but he doesn't book the show. So who knows who actually made that final call? Clearly, Cena has a lot of stroke with Vince, but it was a bad decision. And especially when you watch it as well, even with no knowledge of what went on, Cena gets the living shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
And this is essentially where the whole Super Cena meme comes from, because he should not have been able to win this match with the odds and with the beatdowns he gets. But he does. He comes out and he Hulk Hogan's everyone, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, we'll scan through it very quickly now, I suppose. Daniel Bryan gets the hot tag into the ring at one point, causes Heath Slater to tap out. The Miz comes from behind and lays out Daniel Bryan with his briefcase. He's eliminated, so it's 2-1 to the Nexus, in the Nexus's favor. But that one obviously is Super Cena, and Cena at one stage even takes a DDT on the floor. The mats are pulled up, and his DDT, so that should be it for me.
Yeah.
You know, when people are dropped on their head, Mags, whether it's a pile driver, a tombstone, a DDT, people should not be kicking out.
Exactly. And to be fair to Cena, when he's rolled in the ring by Barrett, he does sandbag. He does look like dead weight. And then the Barrett tells Justin Gabriel, go and do the 450 splash, because obviously that's the move that has took out Vince McMahon, blah, 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 blah. And then when he goes to do the splash, Cena powers out and rolls out the way, gets the cover, even though he doesn't really do a move to put Gabriel away, and eliminates him. And then we get 30-40 seconds of what should have been the feud of this match, Wade Barrett versus Cena, and it's over and done within seconds. Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, he gets that awful looking STF on Barrett, forces him to tap.
And this is one of the worst looking ones, because his arms, and there's such a gap between Barrett's face and Cena's arms. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And Barrett, for all his kind of posturing and being the leader, he taps out so quickly, and it's ridiculous. And this kills the Nexus's credibility for me. Absolutely kills it.
And they've been building them for so long, and I had genuine intrigue in the Nexus and what was going to happen. And going into this event, I remember thinking the Nexus, they have to win this.
Yeah, of course they do.
It's not going to harm.
Makes absolute sense.
Yeah, it's not going to harm Cena. It's not going to harm Edge, Jericho, and the other guys involved. They're not of a status where they need to particularly worry about wins and losses, if that even is a thing, worrying about wins and losses. But to me, it was a case of it's not going to harm any of the guys on Team WWE, but a win would do so much for the guys on Team Nexus. When Cena won, it was like, oh, right. And you touched upon it earlier with regards to Cena suggesting this idea and changing what the original plan was. So fuck you, John Cena, for even thinking that way in the first place. If he's turned around in later years and said, yeah, I made a mistake, Okay, people make mistakes, fair enough, but still, at that time, dickhead. Vince McMahon, come on, mate. What the hell? You should know. This is ridiculous. McMahon is the one. Cena, there's a lot of blame for, of course. But even if Cena's there going, oh, please, Vince, this is the way it should be. Vince McMahon is in charge. He has made the final call. And they put all this investment and effort into the Nexus, dominating Monday Night Raw for weeks and months, building to this huge match that could make these guys, maybe not all of them superstars, but it could make these guys relevant for the next few months at least, and then get some big names out of that for future years. Some are always going to fall away. Some are always going to fall away. They were never going to be top level, but some had potential there. Cut them off at the knees straight away. Fucked all that effort and work they put into that group, into that storyline. Ridiculously bad booking decision, Lagsy. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, this should have led to the Nexus almost taking over the WWE. It could have been that huge. And I've got a snippet from Jericho's podcast when he had Edge as a guest, and they were talking about this Team Nexus versus WWE, and he said it boiled down to you, meaning Edge, and me, meaning Jericho. They were in this meeting, and it was Cena was talking. He said Cena wanted things done a certain way, and they both told him that it was wrong. And he said, and he pushed for it anyway, and it sucked. And Jericho said exactly. He wanted to be DDT'd on the floor by Barrett and then kick out and beat them both. And Jericho says to him, that's the dumbest thing ever. You're throwing the whole storyline away from no reason. And Edge says, yep, they should have gone over because the storyline was so hot. And Jericho said, we were fighting for Barrett to go over, and I mean fighting. And in all fairness, where's Barrett now? They absolutely should have listened to us.
They're not wrong. They're not wrong. I mean, where could you have gone? If Barrett beats Cena here, if it goes the same way and you go down to the one-on-one and Barrett beats Cena, I mean, personally, I wouldn't have booked it that way. I would have booked it that the Nexus literally ran through Team WWE. Maybe have one or two people eliminated, but ran through them. You know, make him really super strong. You could have had Barrett. I mean, this is
having winning all the titles at once.
Yeah,
kind of like the Bloodline now, winning everything.
Chuck the tag belts on a couple of the, shall we say, and you know, because they can, you know, in a tag match, maybe you can, you know, work around certain shortcomings because you've got other guys involved. Put the world title on Barrett,
and put the secondary title on like Ryback, maybe. Just give them all the titles, and then the team really have to work from underneath to beat off this new group of wrestlers. This could have been a year-long storyline.
This could have been, and this is a big shout on my part. So, you know, when I think about it later on, I may correct myself, but this could have been approaching NWO levels of huge. If they literally just ran over everybody.
The potential was there. The potential was there.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it would have been as cool or as good, but it could have been as, you know, by 2010 standards, sorry, it could have been at least that interesting. And that Nexus shirt sold incredibly well. Everyone likes a group of guys who are just dominating, don't they? Look at the Bloodline now. They're supposed to be heels, but they get cheers, and their merch is shipping loads.
Everyone acknowledges them.
Exactly, Mags. Exactly. So there we go. Magsy, out of 10.
I've got a feeling that our scores are going to differ on this, because judging this as a match in and of itself, I don't think it was the worst match we've ever watched. The finish is definitely screwing, needed to be totally changed. But the middle part, when we got down to that 4-on-4, was actually quite good, and the way the eliminations went was quite interesting and engaging. So I think I'm going to give it a 5.5. Just because the finish ruins it, and then there's the early bit with the wrestlers that maybe didn't have to be there. So yeah, I think 5.5 is good enough.
See, we're not far off. I got 5. I got 5 out of 10. I will go back and watch this again at some point. So it puts it above a lot of matches we've covered on this show that have got less than 5. But at the same time, the finish is a big thing for me. It just wrecks it. Cena getting DDT'd on the floor and basically not being dead wrecks it for me. Quick eliminations as well. I understand why some of them happened, but to me there was too many of them. And eliminations on moves that wrestlers get hit with pretty much. And it happens in every multi-man match, every Survivor Series and so on. But you get guys eliminated off a big clothesline. You get guys eliminated off a roll-up and then another roll-up. And that I kind of get a bit lost in a little bit, to be fair. I'm not a big fan of that sort of thing. But yeah, for me, it's a 5. It's not something that I would necessarily rush back and watch, but I probably would at some stage watch it again in the future. So yeah.
Okay, fair.
There we go, mate. There we go. I suppose then, where do we go next week? Magsy, what you got for us?
So I mentioned earlier that I have been on a wrestling rabbit hole doing research for the Hall of Fame, and it led me to a match that I have not only never seen before, but never even heard of before.
Okay, why?
It's from the 1986. The issue was I needed to find a link for this match to the Nexus versus Team WWE, because I need this episode. I need this match on Chain Wrestling, and you'll understand why when you get to watch it. So I had to do a little bit of out of the box thinking to get the link in there. So I was looking at the birthplaces of the wrestlers, because obviously you've got 14 wrestlers to pick out. I was hoping that maybe they were born in the same place or the same state as one of the wrestlers. I came close because one of the wrestlers was born in Virginia, and Heath Slater is from West Virginia, but they're not. That for me is breaking the rules because it's not the same.
I'm sorry, so you've actually got some rules that you won't step over the line for, yeah? You've got some.
I have scruples, but I did manage to find a link, and the link is the arena.
Again,
now, it's not the arena for SummerSlam 2010. Now, bear with me on this, and I mentioned it earlier in the breakdown of the match that I said that maybe we should have had less members of each team in a match.
Okay.
And that's because this storyline carries on after SummerSlam with Team WWE and Team Nexus still at each other's throats. So a couple of weeks later, we end up with a 5-on-5 match on Raw where Nexus take on a team of WWE. That for me would have been the ideal number. And that episode of Raw was at the Boston Gardens in Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Which is where the match I need to see on Chain Wrestling was from. And in fact, on the network, it's down as Boston Garden, August the 9th, 1986. The match is Tony Atlas taking on Ted Arcidi. Now, I've never heard of this Ted Arcidi guy. I know very little of Tony Atlas, but I watched this match in my rabbit hole. And this, I don't want to spoil it, but this may break records on Chain Wrestling. This may get a score that no other match has got before. So I am putting forward from August the 9th, 1986, from the Boston Gardens, Ted Arcidi versus Tony Atlas.
Ted Arcidi.
Arcidi. I will give you the link.
Say that again, sorry.
Arcidi.
Ted Arcidi. Okay. When you say break records on Chain Wrestling, are we talking Upwards or downwards?
I don't want to give the game away. I want to leave it in the hands of our loyal and hopefully intelligent CWF. But I watched this match and I was blown away by it.
Okay.
Whether that's good or bad, we will see next week.
And it's on the network, August the 9th, 1986, Boston Gardens. How do you find that?
Search for Ted Arcidi.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, he hasn't had many WWE matches. So there's not that many to choose from.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Honestly, I already want you to win this week. I'm intrigued now because I've never seen that. I know Tony Atlas, but not masses of his work.
I'll even give you a sweet. It's got Gorilla Monsoon and Lord Alfred Hayes on commentary.
Oh dear. Okay.
No, they are brilliant.
Are they?
They're probably the best part of it.
Oh, okay. Really? To be fair, we always have a good fun when the wrestling is comical. So if it is that way, you know. Okay, interesting. I already hope you win, Magsy, again. My choice is relatively straightforward. I really enjoyed seeing Bret Hart here, even though it wasn't Bret as we remember him. It's his Bret, effectively retired, can't do much, etc. So I thought, why don't we go back and look at the match that Bret says effectively caused his retirement from Starrcade 99, Bret Hart versus Goldberg, when he picked up the concussion that in 2000 led to his sad retirement from the ring. And that is what I want to do. I want to go to Starrcade 99, Goldberg versus Bret Hart for the WCW World Title, and just check that out there, Magsy. Yeah.
Don't vote for that one. I mean,
no, don't vote for that one.
It's a good story, a good storyline, but definitely vote for Man. This week, I normally say vote for SARS, but this week I implore you, vote for Man because it's going to break chain wrestling records.
Okay, I'm intrigued. I really am. I do hope it wins, to be fair. My only concern is, from one standpoint, if your match wins, that's fine, because Goldberg, Bret Hart will come up again. That'll come up again, and it's easy to link to. I'm concerned that if Tony Atlas versus Ted Arcidi wins, where the fuck do we go from there?
I mean, who thinks ahead more than one move? Certainly not me.
True. This is true. Magsy, we better scan through the chat because we've had a few comments from the awesome people in the CWF here before we depart for the evening. And again, CWF people listening on YouTube and everywhere else, Facebook and Twitch and wherever else we're available now. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We appreciate that. The last few chain wrestlings since we've got over to our own network, we have ran longer than our usual 2 hours ish, but you stick with us the whole duration of the show. So thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm. We massively do appreciate it. Letting two clowns like us waffle crap for over 2 hours. We love you for it. Anyway, Sharon says, "How can I bend the rules this week?" That's besmirching my good character. I'd never bend the rules. I ignore the rules completely. Thank you very much. Cam saying, Gilberg is getting that Hall of Fame induction one day. Jesus Christ. I'll be in attendance when he does. Dan says all he knows of Tony Atlas is that he has a foot fetish. And if it wins, I also have like some extra tidbits about the aftermath of the match and what happens with Tony Atlas and stuff like that. Okay. WWECW legend Tony Atlas, he actually was in WWECW. And Ted RCD, Jesus Christ. I think that's his name. I think it's RCD. It's ARCRDR. And Dan Green saying it's going to be fucking shit, isn't it? Well, find out next week. Same wrestling time, same wrestling channel, people. Scottish Danny, as the encyclopedia is going to check it off. And there is an easy link, Tony Atlas to ECW. There you go. So that is a link. Tony Atlas was in WWE CW. There's loads of matches on there. Yeah, not very good ones, but they are on there. But yeah, that's the chat caught up. And again, like I said, we massively love you all for allowing us to be in your homes and going long, as Sarah said. Yeah, thank you very, very much.
Yeah, it's awesome. I cannot appreciate, express my appreciation enough. And on that note, obviously, normally, Mags, I throw to you first, but I'll run through my usual bullshit right now, I guess. On that note, the SJP World Media Network, new shows popping up all the time, and everyone is just jumping on them, retweeting them, sharing them, listening to them. Some of the stuff we're getting out there is doing great numbers. I mean, back when with Danny and Tyler, it's only got 2 episodes. It's only a monthly show, and it's not long episodes. But you guys seem to be loving it. It's been fantastic, the reception you've given Tyler and Danny. Danny hosted this month's Back When show, looking at back when Quiet Riot released the album Metal Health. I know, and I'm going to embarrass him now, so I apologize, Danny. He was incredibly nervous hosting it. Incredibly nervous. But you listen back to that show on the SJP World Media Network. He did a fantastic job. Tyler is awesome as well. The new NXT podcast, Rise and Fall Look Back, that I do with Joshua Goodwin. So much great feedback on that. Joshua's awesome at what he does, and he breaks down certain things in the wrestling ring, moves-wise, content-wise, that I could never even begin to fathom. So you get a different insight there. Nitro Nights, and of course, Chain Wrestling as well, the Doctor Who pod, all the stuff we get from Benny Mac in the corner, looking at modern-day WWE, so you don't have to. The Nothingness show, just talking nothing on a Sunday. It's a great listen there. So much great content. It is awesome that so many people are invested in what we're doing, and I cannot thank you all enough. Buy your merch, because that's how I fund it.
Brilliant.
Give me your money. But no, honestly, I cannot thank you all enough. It's awesome. And you can find it all at SJP World Media on Twitter and Facebook, and any podcast provider, good ones and bad ones too. So yeah, there we go. Magsy, yourself?
Yeah, I mean, what else can they say? The way that you guys have taken the content from SJP World Media to your hearts, and yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. From an idiot who just turns up on a Monday and chats absolute trap. I know the amount of hard work that Sarah and the team have been putting in. And I'm happy to ride their coattails to infamy with it.
Well, no, hang on. I'm going to cut you off right there. You're not riding no one's coattails, my friend. This show, this network, and everything else involved wouldn't exist without you. So don't even try.
So I apologise for putting this on you all. I have my sincere apologies. I do have a little bit of news though regarding this show. Next week, we will actually be at an earlier time. Because brilliant, not even remembered. That's amazing.
Well, no, you're right. I'm glad you said, because I would have forgot.
So we'll be on around 7 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock, and that's because I'm actually on holiday next week. So I am cutting into my holiday to be a trooper again. This week, on holiday next week, and I'm still plowing through terrible or amazing, depending which one you pick, wrestling for you guys. So yeah, tune into that special episode at 7 o'clock next Monday. But you can follow me down here on the Twitter at PodfatherMags, or on TikTok at MagsAllPods. Don't post anything on either of them, so you'll be plowing through my very, very old posts and tweets. But yeah, give me a follow anyway.
Plenty of dick pics. Jump on them.
If you've got a magnifying glass, definitely jump on it.
And of course, you can always follow the show itself at Chain_Wrestling on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and that TikTok thingamy. Maxie, I'm off now to see if I can, find anywhere that sells cut price Nexus t-shirts, and then just start humming that tune in my head so I feel like I'm part of a gang. I'll see you next week, my friend.
I'm off for a crafty. Bye-bye, folks.